this is the broadcast tool here, ladies and gentlemen, as you can see in all its glory. You can see the notation. You can also see the engine evaluation next to each move, and also how long they spend.
What I like is you can make your own moves on the board. You can check the alternatives to what the players did. And even for the moves you make, you get the computer evaluation here.
Fantastic.
I think you get it quicker and better as a premium member, such as yours truly. What I also like, there is a chat function. You can exchange things with people from all over the world. If you want to see something else, let's say you're watching a tournament and you want to see all the games at once, no problem displaying. I have no idea how many games there are, like 128 games at the same time. Can do even more. This is a team competition. You click on multi-board.
That's beautiful.
You can see all the 8 games going on at once.
You can see the games and standings, which
What we got? I'll click around. Games and standings here.
Yeah. Analysis, if we click on that tab,
Let's click on it.
You can see that it's a great little graphical illustration. The red line is 0, that is the absolute even mark. And if the white bars go up, the further up they go, the bigger the advantage. And the black bars show a black advantage.
Then there is a database, and here we get the alternatives. And if we click on a move in the database, bam! It gets played on the board.
Fantastic. And then the PGN can even be downloaded.
I like that feature.
Yeah.
Whatever tournament or game you're following, you click it and you open it in the program of your choice.
Yeah, and one of the great things I like to see as well is when we get a video from the playing hall. I like to see them in their seats, nervous, you feel the tension, you feel like you're there, don't you?
Chess is really becoming a spectator's internet sport.
Great that we can see that. I also love to see the fact that we can get in some of our friends to join us during the broadcast, and it's all interactive. That's what we love. And
a lot of overview functions there.
A lot of great functions there, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure you take advantage of all of them. Let's get back to the commentary.
Keep tweeting us, hashtag C24 Live. We love to hear from you. Ask us anything mainly about Lauren's life, but if you have other questions, they're also welcome.
Also send us anything you like about Jan. Hashtag C24 Live.
Absolutely.
Chess is simple. You just make the right moves.
He is a very good technician. It's not like it's a surprise, but every time you see this, you still nod to yourself and you think, yeah, this guy knows his business.
everybody, and welcome to today's show of the Lindores Abbey Rapid Challenge. I'm going to be your host for today, and for expert analysis, I'll be joined by legends, Grandmaster Peter Leko and Grischuk Alexander. Obviously, as always, Grischuk will be joining us as and when he feels the games are worthy of his appearance. Now, before we start off, let's get everybody up to date with all the action that's been happening in this tournament so far. All right, so the Lindores Abbey Rapid Champion is the second event of the Magnus Carlsen Chess Tour of 2020. For me, it almost feels like the GCT of 2020, the most exciting online event featuring the very, very best players across months, playing different formats. And in this one, 12 of the world's best players started off, with 8 qualifying to the quarterfinals. And today we have the final bracket and the final day to decide our second semi-finalist. This is the format in front of you. Let's take a look. So every game is played with 15 minutes with a 10-second per move increment. The knockout stage is over. We've entered the quarterfinals. It's the very last day. Hikaru was our first semi-finalist. Magnus Carlsen, our second semi-finalist, won his match convincingly, bulldozed both these players, in fact, bulldozed their way into the semis and set up what is going to be a very, very thrilling semi-final to watch. Always an exciting match between Hikaru and Magnus. And today, as you can see, we will know in our second bracket, we've got big matchups, an all Chinese face-off. Yu Yangyi plays against Ding Liren. Now, Yu Yangyi won his first set of mini-match. Ding Liren made a super comeback and set up his third mini-match for today, which will decide our semi-finalist. Daniel Dubov, Sergei Karjakin. Again, a very, very exciting match so far, with Dubov winning his first mini-match and Karjakin at the very, very last minute making his mark in the second mini-match to play today's game. All right, so these two big matchups coming our way, and we'll be lifting off the action soon. Before that, let me also remind you that today is our big day of having our major prize quiz. So the Lindores Abbey Chess Heritage Quiz today is day 3. It starts at 5 p.m. So to enter, just log on to chess24.com/quiz at 5 p.m. The questions will be up. The format is it's a 4-day quiz. Every other day, we put up questions. The winner is going to be the highest cumulative score across these 4 days. The grand prize, the major prize, 3 of these chess boards designed by world champion Anatoly Karpov. Each of these is worth €1,000. So it doesn't only matter that you have to get the right answers, but you have to be really, really fast. So make sure you log on at 5 p.m. because the tiebreak, I think if a lot of people have the same high score, the tiebreak is, I love the word tiebreak because we not only use it now for chess, but also for quizzes, is the one who entered the contest with the speed with which they entered. So the earlier you enter, the better your chances of winning this gorgeous chessboard. Remember, 5 p.m. chess24.com/quiz. Questions which I find them just absolutely impossible to answer. Very, very tough questions. But of course, we're going to have a winner. And don't forget, even if you don't get it on time, you're able to get the right answers. You enter a raffle for some big, big prizes like a Magnus's course on Chessable and other very, very fun prizes, which I think my producer is going to be informing me what they are, but they're cool prizes. And now I've also got to welcome on the show with me right before we kick off my co-commentator for today, our expert analyst for today, Peter Leko. Hi, Peter.
Yeah, hi, Tanya. Hello, everybody.
So, Peter, let's just start with what is going on with today's matches. How do you feel about the games we've had? These players have played 2 mini matches so far. This is the final mini match, which will decide our second bracket of semi-finalists. The way things have gone so far, what are your predictions for today?
Yeah, well, let's start then with the Yu Yangyi Ding Liren match, because I think that's the one where both players can be more or less satisfied with the outcome of 1-1 in their first 2 matches. We have seen this dramatic Armageddon game on the first match day between Liren and Yuyanji, where Yuyanji flagged Liren, but then Liren with very nice play bounced back in the second day of the match, and now they are tied. So I believe that psychologically both players can deal nicely with the situation and get ready for today's chess action. But in the other matchup, I mean, what we have seen yesterday between Daniel Dubov and Sergei Karjakin, that was just heartbreaking. I mean, the big question for me is, could Daniel Dubov sleep at all last night? Because he was just one move away. If we can maybe take a look at this Armageddon game between Daniel Dubov and Sergei Karjakin from yesterday, I mean,
I'm going to try and pull that up on the board. Just give me a minute.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, no, it was right there.
Yes.
You just go a little bit up. Yeah, that's it, where the rook f7, yeah. Okay, so forget about the final position. Let's just move to move 29. Move 29.
Okay, so let's just go straight to move 29, where
yeah, exactly.
white played f6.
I mean, we have been commentating this game together with Peter Swidler, and okay, it was absolutely clear that now after f6, it just checkmate, and Sergei played queen d5, and here Peter actually pointed out very nicely that queen f2 followed by queen g3 is just checkmate. It just checkmate because there is no way only to play g6 and then white will sacrifice on g6 the bishop, and there is just no way for black to avoid checkmate. And Daniel Dubov had still 1 minute on the clock at this moment, and it's very, very critical because the point is that this is Armageddon. The players don't get the increment, and that's exactly the reason why the players are rushing, because they feel like, oh my god, I'm winning, the only thing I have to watch out not to lose on time, and it's gonna be made. And then Daniel went for knight h4. I was completely sure that after g6 he wants to play rook f5. I was completely sure that that's why he chose the move knight h4. And I think that whenever you ask Daniel Dubov that, please wake me up 5 o'clock in the morning, wake me up any given time in the board, I gonna bounce rook f5 out of the board, I mean on the board right away, and no way I will not meet anyone here. And I think that's exactly the question, how can Daniel deal with this situation? Because I believe for myself, if it would have happened to me, I would not be able to sleep. I would be twisting, turning around, doing all night, and you know, my mind would always come back to this position, just one move away from the semifinals with rook f5. And after losing this game, now it's a completely new match situation. I would say that Sergei Karjakin is the favorite for me, exactly because of the fact how they reached into this last day.
That actually reminds me, Peter, of something that Hikaru said the other day, that it's actually much easier to psychologically, it's almost like a psychological victory when you sort of survive a match that you were down on and were struggling throughout. Then for the person who was actually probably dominating the whole match, but slipped right at the end. So despite playing really, really well and being on the upper hand throughout, it's more difficult to deal with the back set than for the person who probably didn't play up to the mark, but just made it right at the end. Also, I want to take you back to this position, Peter, just to explain to our viewers and break it down that why is rook f5 so strong in the position? Is it because white just checkmates after rook h5 here and black has no defense?
Yeah, exactly. That's the point, because after knight h4, you cover the g2 square. So black cannot give any countermate on g2. So all your pieces are free. And with rook f5, you actually want rook takes h5, but you also prepare just rook g5, followed by queen takes h5. I mean, there is no defense for black. Black is completely helpless. So that's exactly why it's so, so sad, and you feel that this hurts you so much, and you go crazy, because after rook f5, there is no way that you are not winning the game. And exactly, you said that Daniel played incredible good chess also yesterday. I mean, Daniel has crushed Sergei Karjakin with the black pieces in like 20 moves. But once you lose this and you lose that day you lost the match, then you already forget about all these beautiful moments and you are remembering exactly that one, why you have lost the match of that day. So it's really heartbreaking. I hope very much for Dubov that he can handle the situation. In this sense, I believe that the first game of the match will have a very big impact, because the only way to recover after such a disaster is if you start playing a good game and you are getting back your confidence. Because people are talking, yeah, maybe psychologists can help you, whatever. No, believe me, at this given moment, nothing can help you unless you start playing a very good game, and then all your instincts and all your self-confidence issues are recovering automatically.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. It also kind of reminds us a little bit of classical chess tournaments, over the board tournaments, where if you've had a difficult day and you've lost a game, truly the only way to really come back is if you're able to go the next day and win it. Otherwise, win the match or somehow at least stabilize it. But here there is no option of stabilizing, because we have to have one winner. I think the first game truly sets the tone for the rest of the match. And like you said, a win is going to be very, very crucial for Dubov, because if he goes in the back foot of that first day of the mini match, in which he crushed Karjakin with a 3-0 score, none of that's going to matter. It's going to be extremely hard for him to come back. And that's also what we saw in the Yu Yangi Ding Liren match, where Yu Yangi did win in the final Armageddon of day one. But then Ding Liren was the better player throughout that match. In second day, he did have a huge comeback, winning that first game, after which it's so hard for the player to indeed come back.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And about the Ding Liren match, I feel like the big question is, can Ding Liren keep up the tone and put Yu Yangi so much under pressure as he did in the second day? Because one scenario that most probably Ding wants to avoid is an Armageddon today, because that can go either way. But on the other hand, when it's just pure chess, it feels like, yeah, Yu Yangi is a brilliant player, but Ding is just a little bit, maybe even more stable, maybe even stronger, and that's why he should avoid Armageddon at all costs.
You know, I fully agree with this statement, and it's interesting for me also, because I think in general, if we see the world top 10 players, Peter, they're extremely strong. But let's say there's world champion Magnus Carlsen, and then there are these world top 10 best players in the world. I think there are only a few out of these, maybe a couple of these, who can truly withstand the Magnus pressure. And Ding Liren is in fact one of them.
Yeah, absolutely. And the silence was basically because the game has just started and we are seeing another E3 episode. We have already been seeing this during the match. White. Also, one of the things that, of course, the two Chinese players, they know each other very well, not just repertoire-wise, but also stylistic-wise. So one can also see that Yu Yangi is exactly trying to mess things up. He wants to get some really fighting position, get out of the usual typical structures. Force Ding not to play on his own territory, but I mean, Ding is so strong that he feels home almost everywhere. So let's see what we will see. And Yu Yangi is the first one who deviates, and he chose now the more classical bishop d3 approach compared to this knight g2 line that he had been playing before.
Right. So the second game is yet to kick off, but we do have kickoff in Ding Liren and Yu Yangi, and I think a very important point made by you, Peter, that Ding Liren will be looking to avoid at all costs an Armageddon with no increment, where it just comes about speed on the mouse and your pre-move game.
Exactly, and also Yu Yangi's style, that he is very aggressive. It might, because the point is that Ding has played that Armageddon game extremely well. The point was, I think, the mindset that Ding continued playing chess when they had like 20 seconds left, and his opponent forgot much faster about chess and understood that, now actually it doesn't matter, just don't blunder your rook, just don't blunder anything terrible, and then you can flag your opponent. this is a mindset issue. Maybe after this experience, Ding will already be also more experienced, but it's not so easy because it's not his style.
Yeah, that's a very, very important and a very good point, that actually in the Armageddon, which is not Blitz, where you have 2 seconds increment per move, the game does become about the clock after a certain point. And Liren, even though he was hands down winning in that Armageddon, actually got flagged and brutally flagged. So also we do have all the players. So I think we've got possibly a kickoff in the second round as well, as I can see on the screen that all the players have taken their position and should be about to start soon. But this opening, Peter, of the Nimzo. So B6, this is quite a typical and we see this very often. These plans where B6, bishop B7 comes and white wants to go E4, E5.
Yes, this is very typical, but we can already see that Yuan Ji is trying to mix things up, and he managed to get E3, E4 bishop before black got the bishop to B7. So this is somewhat new or somewhat surprising, and we immediately see how Ding is reacting, that he wants to trade these light squared bishops immediately with bishop A6. It's usually this type of position arises with the white knight on F3 instead of the knight on E2. So this little difference makes actually a huge impact on the position, because if your knight is on F3, then usually you have to castle first, because otherwise some c takes d4, c takes d4, queen c3 check would hurt you. But now with the knight on e2, white covers the c3 square. That's the reason why he managed to get e3, e4 so quickly in.
But then on the other hand, Peter, with the knight on e2 and not on f3, it also becomes, this attack with e5 also becomes slower, because you don't have knight f3 jumping onto g5.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, something for something. Otherwise, it would be too nice. Yeah, otherwise it would be too nice that you get e4 and you get everything. No, you absolutely correctly pointed out. Yeah, with the knight on e2, it's not so easy for white to get a kingside attack right away. On the other hand, imagine some scenario that white goes later after castles had been played. I think castles had been played.
Castle and bishops are traded.
Yeah, bishop takes d3, queen takes d3 is played. And white does have some ideas like knight g3, e5, knight h5, queen g3. So it's not like white is not able to create any attack. But usually black should be able to handle this with some counterplay against the center. I mean, the big question is now where to put the knight. I would actually have said that it's a big question, knight d7 or knight c6, because if you play knight d7, it's like more harmonious, but knight c6 would put more pressure on the d4 pawn. So before you make such strategical decisions, you have to carefully calculate, and only once you calculate, you understand that maybe after knight c6, something like bishop g5 could bother black. Yeah, after knight c6, bishop g5 is maybe awkward, because how to defend the knight on f6, and you don't really want to move that knight from f6.
Right. Well, like you said, like it's a give and take, whether knight d7, knight c6, two different plans for black. I think knight d7 also gives black the additional idea of going rook c8 with either of the rooks, taking on d4, and then entering with the queen to c2 or c4, trying to trade. Because Peter, in general, I've noticed about these positions that endings or a queen trade often favors black.
Yeah, absolutely, because then your king is automatically perfectly safe. Also, white's central pawns in endgame don't make such a big impression, because after all, then they even tend to be sometimes weak. So
they tend to be also weak, and also black often ends up with this A and B pawn versus the A3 pawn, and can create counterplay along with those pawns, trying to create a passer. So it's interesting. White's main idea is to create pressure on the king side, while black is trying to possibly trade off queens and create counterplay against white's center or on the queen side.
Yeah, I think by now we have also said more than enough right now about this position, especially because I see that in Daniel Dubov, Sergei Karjakin game, things are heating up right away. This is typical Daniel Dubov.
I love it already. So G4 is typical Daniel Dubov. I agree. But what is going on, Peter, with these G4, H4 moves that we're seeing across the planet right now in every single game?
Yeah, people are trying to find some new ways. Actually, I think the story behind this is quite remarkable. This white first goes bishop g5, tries to play in the so-called classical spirit, and then after h6 he comes back to f4. One can argue that why did you lose this tempo with bishop g5? After all, we have seen in all these Nakamura games in the close position that black is anyway playing h6, and it's very, very useful. Yes, but white has something very concrete in mind, and just as in the game, we can see how it happened. E3, h6, yeah, bishop f4 castles, and g4 is played. And the point is that what comes to mind, that is this, I can't really remember exactly that. I think Dubov has already played this g4, and Magnus has also tried to play this against Kovalev with bishop g5, bishop f4 in Vaikanze. But what I wanted to highlight was that the first time Daniel Dubov used this bishop g5, bishop f4 idea and then trying to get g4 was, I think, in the game against Abdusatulov in the Aeroflot Open 2019. I think that was the first time this idea was played. And Dubov played this idea and the game finished draw after like 10 moves. And then you can ask the question that what the hell has happened? White has burned the incredible new idea, and why the game ended in a draw? The point was that exactly on that day was this bomb alarm during the Aeroflot Open, and the game got stopped. Imagine Dubov, you know, I mean, what could Daniel think at that moment, that I'm making this brilliant idea and the game gets stopped and it's not continued anymore. It was quite shocking, so it's nice that he gets another chance.
Yeah, I was just about to say, maybe it all turned out for the best, because now he gets a chance to really show what the idea was all about. And this point that you made, Peter, about provoking h6. So the whole idea is, now if you imagine this position with black's pawn on h7, the whole idea of g4 makes less sense, because you can't break through black's king side with a break like g5. We often see these moves at the top level where it looks like it's a loss of tempo. You know, moves like bishop b5, provoking a6 and then coming back with the bishop. Bishop g5, provoking h6 and then falling back with the bishop. And the whole theme is around provoking pawn moves which can't be taken back, and then make it easier to break into it because they create weaknesses. And very thematically and sort of typically, Peter, Karjakin goes with c5, the general idea that if your opponent's playing on the flank, you try and break the center.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we were taught already as kids to do so, and that's the way to react. Classical principles are still working. It's very nice to see that they are also working, but the game of chess became, of course, so much more concrete due to the computer's impact that, yeah, you can never be sure. And yeah, the game continued g5, h takes g5, knight takes g5.
So g5 was played after c5. White just continues with the plan after taking
knight
on
g5. Black took cd4, ed4, and d takes c4. A very natural reaction, because actually you kind of created a isolated pawn for your opponent. And also it feels like if white recaptures, for example, bishop takes c4, then you have possibility to play knight b6 with a tempo, or even b7, b5, sacrificing the pawn.
Those are really interesting.
Yeah, those are two different concepts.
Right. So that's why probably white, instead of taking on c4, because here time is really of the essence, white has to create play against black's weakened king, because if black is able to develop and create play against the d4 pawn, white's king is also uncastled right now. So pawns really don't matter at all. And Daniel, playing in Daniel's style, goes for rook g1.
Exactly. I mean, if you already started with g4, you have to continue in the spirit. And bishop takes c4 was just a move I had to mention, but it was obviously not even a move that would ever cross Daniel's mind, because it's not why you are playing this position. Rook g1, yeah, you want to go for an all-in attack, not to give black the time to develop the queen side or get counterplay in the center. So it's going to be very, very interesting. I mean, white has ideas like queen f3 and then long castle, all kinds of ideas, but I'm pretty sure that black has his chances as well. The question is, how to deal with this from the black side in a rapid game when your opponent is blitzing things out. And if you are not familiar with the position, you don't know exactly how computer would treat this position, then it's very tough to navigate yourself over the board.
I think it's also very interesting to not grab the c4 pawn because, Peter, like you mentioned, that white wants to go long castle. In many ways, not opening the c file can actually help white. So he sort of wants to delay the capture. What's also fascinating for me is how you said that Daniel would not even consider a move of, like, players of the top level would not even consider a move like bishop c4. But very often, of course, mere mortals like myself would consider this move. So I think it's really important to understand why hand captures, just because your opponent's taken a piece, it's not, or a pawn, it's not always necessary to immediately capture, but to consider the position as a whole.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, especially in such a very special position. One of the ideas that come to my mind is like to go queen a5 with the idea of breaking e6, e5. Just try to break the center, not let white generate kingside threats, because if white starts to generate kingside threats, you will have to deal with them. And somehow it feels like you have to make sure that white will not get that far. So in this sense, queen a5 looks very natural to me, but Sergei has played knight d5, a move which makes a lot of sense. He wants to make sure that his knight from d7 will join the defense with on f6.
And in general, probably trying to trade off as many pieces as he can as well.
Yeah, but for sure, Daniel will have something to say about that. I don't think that he will give the chance of changing. And one question, can I play queen c2 maybe?
So queen c2, but then, so your idea is that knight f4 runs into queen h7. So queen h7 is a big threat of mate, which means that black has to either put the knight on f6 to guard the h7 square, or trade the knights on, trade the bishop with the knight on g5.
Yeah, my point was that if you play knight 7 to f6, then I would love to put my bishop on e5.
So knight f6 runs into bishop e5, now renewing the threat of knight d5, taking away both the defenders, and then again making life very difficult for black with the threat of mate. And of course, black never wants to make a move like g6 because that only weakens the king more. But what happens if black actually grabs the knight on g5?
Yeah, then I take with the bishop on g5 with the tempo. Basically, that's why it feels like queen c2 is a little bit slow, but on the other hand, if I force you to react, then I might win the tempo back. And where do you go with the queen? I'm also setting bishop h6.
Right, so if a move like queen a5 now, for example, you've got bishop h6, just to show how dangerous it can be, and you can already sacrifice on its mate for black. And knight d5 on the board. And now let's just go back to our current position. I'm just gonna, right. So queen c2, very interesting. So how does black handle the threat? I do think, Peter, still that black probably has to take this, because I really don't see any other way to stop queen c2 played, in fact.
Yeah,
Daniel going for it with queen c2.
Yeah, it was.
So knight f6 or bishop g5, two options for black. You don't want to play. In fact, g6 is probably just not even possible because of knight e6 immediately, and everything falls apart for black.
Yeah.
All right, so let's try this idea one more time. And do I have to move my queen, or can I just now go for knight f6? Because if you go bishop h6,
okay, you can go knight e8. It's ugly, but yeah, you can defend like this. But I don't believe that this is what black would like.
I hate it.
Yeah.
I hate it for black.
Yeah, I mean, once you give up your dark square bishop, I feel like I have all the compensation in the board, and also at some point I can already consider capturing on c4, and I continue having an initiative without ever even having to sacrifice anything for that. So I'm very curious to see what Sergei has in mind. Another idea that
this position is absolutely exploding, Peter, and we're going to, of course, come back to it. But very quickly, we haven't forgotten about our other matchup, Ding Liren versus Yu Yangi. It's just that position is a little slower, but break this down for us. What's going on in this match?
Yeah, I mean, the Daniel's game was so exciting that we had to jump right in, and they also started a little bit later. I kept an eye on this game as well. As you mentioned, this is more strategic battle. It's more about understanding the nuances than brutal force. I do feel like White achieved something. I mean, it feels like, and now we see that Ding is going for knight b8. You remember we had this discussion that knight bd7 or knight c6, and the reason why I did not like knight bd7, I felt like this knight has to move sooner or later away from d7, and now knight b8 is played very naturally. If black gets time to go knight c6 and then knight a5, then everything will be under control. So the question is, can White use the moment? Can White use the moment to get the initiative, or if not, then black will just slowly have a comfortable position?
Yeah, too slow for me, too slow for the audience. Let's go right back. I think this position will get interesting, but like you said, black has gone knight bd7, knight b8, probably with the idea to come to c6 and direct pressure on the d4 pawn. White playing a5, breaking onto the queen side, trying to create a weakness on b6. Again, Peter, we have to jump back to the Dubov game, because as you predicted, bishop g5, and here the Minister of Defense, not called Minister of Defense for nothing, but finding the right way to actually defend his king side, has gone for f6, not moving the queen, because you probably are going to need this queen in the defense for the king side. So you kind of don't want to waste time with moves like queen a5, queen b6. We saw that knight f6 also extremely ugly after knight goes back to e8. Not the kind of position you want to play against a guy like Daniel, or against anybody really. Instead, he goes for f6, and after bishop 8-6, defends the g7 pawn with rook f7.
Yeah, I mean, this was my thoughts as well, that black has to go for this f6, rook f7. On the other hand, I had the feeling that now exactly is the right time to capture on c4. This is what Daniel did. Bishop takes c4, knight 7 to b6. And basically claiming that after bishop b3, black most probably just wants to go bishop d7.
But now can black play a move like f5? Because I kind of want to come with my queen to h4 if I can, or to f6. And I really hate that your queen is open on this diagonal and can potentially go to g6. Or is f5 just a move that weakens too much?
Yeah, I would feel that it weakens a little bit too much, because it's a lot about the dark squares. And this pawn on f6 somehow gives a nice feeling for the position. But in the meantime, Daniel chose bishop back to e2, which also makes perfect sense, especially if we consider that black might want to go bishop d7, because that's the natural development. Then white has some unpleasant move like bishop h5, targeting the rook on f7, and you don't really want to play rook e7. Okay, it's another thing that if rook e7, you can get away with it, but I believe that maybe then the sacrifice on g7 might be very, very strong. I mean, can you imagine rook e7 here? You might just take on g7 with the bishop. Rook g7 takes, queen g6 check.
So scary. And if king h8, you can probably give another check and go long castle or something.
Exactly, and now long castle.
And just rook comes and it's game over. This is exactly why I think black has played f5. I think just allowing all these threats is just too scary. Even if you'd rather weaken a little bit than just get mated on the spot.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, after bishop e2, since bishop h5 was such a strong threat, black was most probably forced to go f5. But this gives a tempo, and black needs to develop with bishop d7 in order to get rook c8 in and create counterplay. But it's okay. Maybe if white cannot make good use of it, black will get a chance to develop, and then it's gonna be very interesting.
Right, and at least you're stopping all these sacrifices on g7 for the time being. I also feel, Peter, this looks like a sort of a test for the strengths of these two players. Dubov, known for his aggressive play, his interesting combative style, is on the attack right now, is on the initiative right now. And Karjakin, known to be one of the biggest and the best defense players, modern defense players, just finding resources which you can't believe exist, has to show that quality at the moment.
Yeah, but also the point is that yes, Sergei is an incredible defender, but we can see exactly what Daniel has in mind. He always goes after the throat of Sergei. Like, he doesn't want to give him this chance of defending something slightly worse position. So whatsoever, he's trying to go for the maximum. He wants to mate his opponent, and he goes long castle. Now white very much wants to double. Yeah, I don't know exactly how, maybe rook g3, rook dg1, or whatever. So black has to be alert. Black has to be alert and look at the clock situation. Sergei Karjakin down to 6 minutes versus 11 minutes. So he really needs some good setup, because if he would find a good defensive setup, now queen h4 played, then things can get okay for him. But if he fails to solve his problems, then time will be also a very huge issue for him.
But I have to say, I feel like black is taking out his pieces and sort of getting the defense together. I don't think any sacrifice on g7 works currently, because the maximum that you can do is get your other rook to g1, but your queen's not coming into play. And right now your bishop is under attack. So what is white going to do? Is he going to fall back with the bishop, or going to play a move like queen d2 maybe, defending this bishop and sort of keeping a move like bishop g5 in the air? You want to double up because your main play is against g7. But it looks like it can't be all that bad yet for black.
Yeah, I don't know how bad it is. The question for me is what black has in mind after bishop g5. I mean, if instead of queen d2 you just play bishop g5, will he start grabbing some pawn? I mean,
oh, that's scary. That's very, I mean, queen
no,
h2
h2 pawn not, but I mean f2
queen
pawn
f2
maybe.
Yes, queen h2
maybe.
is mega scary, because you don't, the last thing you want to do is give another open file to your opponent. And queen f2. But then you have rook f1. No, then you lose. So rook f1 unfortunately doesn't work, because you also give the d4 pawn.
Yeah, that's basically the point, that queen f2 is possible, but it looks very strange to base your play on this. But if you are not taking on f2, then you would have to go queen h7, which would look terrible. So black is kind of forced to take on f2 and queen f2 on the board.
On the board. So Karjakin with an extra pawn, but a lot of attack against his, a lot of pressure against his king, and still behind in development.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is the typical position that if you are having this from the white side, you say that it's no way black can take this pawn on f2 without getting punished. That's so your scary feeling, but sometimes we know already modern chess that having one feeling and reality are two different things. So very, very interesting. It looks very scary, but how to punish, it's another question.
I'm not sure. I'm trying to think, how is white going to continue this initiative? Because if black is just able to play bishop d7, rook c8, it feels like, or maybe even rook c7 is an idea in these positions. So white doesn't have all the time in the world here, Peter.
Yeah, I mean, okay, one thing that comes to mind, that in worst case scenario, I mean, it's really like worst case scenario, maybe white can just insist on rook gf1, and after queen g2, which most probably you have to play, because I don't believe you can take on h2, then I have rook g1, and it feels like black has to go back to f2. So once you see that you already have at least a repetition, it gives you also some confidence that you can look for something more. And if you are not able to find something more, then you can still get back to safety approach.
I love how in all these extremely complicated positions, Peter, you're always able to find a way to at least stabilize and to hold on.
Exactly. I mean, okay, that's my style. I mean, believe me, in this position, it's as white player, I would look for all kind of things. But this queen on f2 is actually disturbing, because you would love to move the bishop from e2 to join the party, but then black can change the queens, and otherwise, how do you get queen d2 played? Queen d2
so he wants to now go rook f1 so the whole idea is that you've supported your d4 pawn, and now you're threatening rook df1.
Exactly, and I love this very, very much. And that was also my point, that once you know that you actually can repeat, it gives you confidence and you can look for something else. And after queen d2, now rook df, I mean, after rook df1 is coming, how should black deal with the situation? He will have to take on h2, which is suicidal. So
yeah, queen h2 is just the ugliest move on the planet right now. That looks like it's going to be inviting mate. So rook f1 is a real threat. Obviously, you want me to take on it. You want black to take on h2. So how can black actually counter this? There's no way to put additional. Does black have a move like f4 here? Because I want to really, if I can trade off this queen, I will be super happy with black here.
Yeah, it felt like I was also looking for candidates, and f4 came to mind because this case you have this queen e3, which is really annoying and not so easy to parry with white. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this looks, if black is able to get if black is able to trade off the queens, then it's, I mean, I think black's not only solved all his problems, but might even end up with a slightly better, although maybe not a better ending, because you do have the two bishops and some pressure, but at least all the major stuff is off the board.
Yeah, at least you avoided any kind of disaster. And yeah, the position after rook df1, queen e3, queen takes e3, for example, forces f takes e3, and I believe again, once he's not risking, then I can take on f4, then I think white is better, so you have to take fe. And this is still a little bit scary because I have suddenly all this bishop h5 takes on f7, bishop h5 check, maybe even take on f7.
But I have to say, no matter how scary this is, it's less scary than what was going on a couple of moves earlier.
Absolutely. And here you also have g6. This is very important that you have the g6 move. And after rook f1 check, you have king g7. So it seems like black should be able to survive. And in fact, if black survives, then he has zero problems. Okay, white will probably win back the pawn on e3 and it's going to be a draw. But that's already not even something you don't need to calculate any further. So the question after f4, does white have some super move or not?
What is that super move? All right, let's see. Let me just get our board up to date. So currently queen d2 and no f4, but bishop d7. This looks extremely risky to me, Peter, because I am not sure what's going on after rook f1 here. You're forced to take the pawn on h2 now.
Yeah, you are forced to, yeah.
And is this just black saying that I'm grabbing all the pawns, show me what you got, and but this looks like it's not going to be very hard to show what white's got.
Yeah, but you still need to somehow double on the h file, which might be more difficult than it looks. Yeah, I mean, rook h1 is a good start.
And rook h1 here.
Yeah, this is actually also on the board now. And Sergei has to decide with 3.5 minutes on the clock where to retrieve the queen. He goes back queen d6.
Instantly.
Yeah, and okay, there is this idea that black wants rook c8 with some very quick counterplay thanks to knight takes c3. So the big question is how to double.
Let's try and do what you were saying earlier, that you want to give a mate on h8. So how is black playing against this threat?
Yeah, rook h3 of course has to be played, and the big question is, I mean, I feel like whenever you double, I can sacrifice some exchange and I will have a spot for my king on f7. The question is how to get that spot. And do I have the chance to take on c3 here? Maybe can I play knight takes c3?
This is, I think, the big question. So you can't take with the queen. You don't want to take with the rook because this rook I needed for doubling and giving mate on the h file. So probably take with the b pawn.
Yeah, and I also have bishop c6 covering the h1 square.
Oh, that's nice. And probably black doesn't have time to. I mean, white doesn't have time to go rook h1 because you've got knight e2 check. So you've got to take back on c3. And at least for now, there is no doubling on the h file after bishop c6.
Yeah, and now we see also why it was so important for black to win this one little time with queen takes f2, queen d2, that he managed to get his bishop out. Because if you would not have been able to get bishop c6, then it would have looked just terrible. But we have been talking that this is all very, very exciting and so on, and the other one is slow maneuvering. Let's just jump back there because some crazy things have happened.
What is this position? How did the king get to d8? Firstly, I mean, I have so many questions here. Let's just go back and see what happened, because we left it when white played a5.
Yeah, the only problem is that things are heating up. I'm not sure that we have the right and the chance to go back now all the way. Let's just check this final position, and then if we see that the smoke clears, then we jump back. Because look at this, queen b7 played after queen g8, queen takes c4, rook takes g7, queen d4 check had to be played because there was no other way to defend the knight on d7. And after, okay, there was queen b5, that was the other, but yeah, queen d4 check played.
So
now white will do something
happens
and
after
black
bishop
takes on
e3?
d6.
This position is absolutely nuts, Peter.
Yeah, I mean, what the hell is going on?
Because, okay, so actually white is only one pawn less, but so materially it's not so bad, and black's just looks like he's getting mated, and the king has come all the way from g8 to d8.
Yeah,
You know, Liren really likes to transfer his king from the king side all the way across to the board. It looks like it's one of his very thematic ideas. We've seen him do that against the world champion several times and actually eventually even deliver mate on the king side. Often just castles and then walks across with the king.
Yeah, but this is also a typical position that if black survives the next few moves, then he can also have almost a winning position. So,
so
the price of each move is very high.
So I really want to get my rook to the d file. So wondering if white can play something like rook e2 with the idea rook d2.
Yeah, this is the big
But maybe
question.
It's too slow, Peter, because you can black can just play queen c7, not queen c7, because I don't know, is queen c7 possible?
No, then yeah, it's maybe possible, but in general also black has the idea to just go rook c7, queen a8, rook c8.
Yeah, because I think this just loses on the spot. This is just an interesting line, and now you've got rook d7.
Yeah.
So black actually cannot go queen c7 after rook e2, which means makes me wonder if black can go rook c7 instead.
Yeah, and actually the position after rook e2 is on the board, and I do feel like rook c7 is the move you want to play over the board because, yeah, this queen c7 looked to lose. You even managed to refute it on the spot, so that's a great job. And
that's how easy it was that I managed to refute it on the spot.
Okay, I'm not sure it was so easy, but it was nice tactical vision in any case. But I do feel as a professional player, and we have talked about it already, this instinct when you feel like your king is in danger and you have a stabilizing move like rook c7, seemingly solving the problems, then you don't really want to look further. Yeah, it looks like, okay, if I got that move, everything is under control. The question is, does black want more than a draw, or is he satisfied with rook c7? And rook c7 played.
I mean, if you're black in this position, I think if you're able to hold on and stabilize and not get mated, I think Liren probably would not be too unhappy with a draw here, because really after queen a8, it means that at least white here does have the option to repeat, right?
Yeah, and we are actually seeing this repetition already for the second time. So it might be a logical end to this fascinating game.
And yeah, it really is a fascinating position on the board right now, Peter, and probably going to end in a draw soon, because it's one of those positions where if black doesn't play rook c7 and repeats, black's in a lot of trouble. And if after rook c7, white also doesn't have too many options but to go for a repetition.
Yeah.
Which makes me think that with the black pieces, a draw in game one for Ding Liren, a pretty reasonable result in a combative game. And there we see draw has been agreed. Let's quickly jump to our other game. We will probably come back and have a look at what happened there. Wow. All right. So this is what we were talking about, that after knight c3, does white have time to go to rook h1? And then just felt that there was either knight e2 and knight a2, and probably not. But what's going on here, Peter?
Yeah. I mean, I think we have no clue what is going on. Knight e2 check, okay, this is very logical. Queen takes e2 is also very logical, because actually later the queen will go to h5, giving check to the king on f7. So that's one of the key moments in this position.
Sorry, what did so after knight e2?
Yeah, queen takes e2. I was saying it's not only I recapture this knight, but I will need queen h5 check later when I start hunting the king to f7. Because after all...
so you mean, for example, a move like rook f8, clearing a square doesn't really help because you've got queen h5
exactly.
here.
Yeah, thanks to this queen on e2, I'm joining...
Let's just show how the game would... Just the possible dangers in the position, and it's made after this. All right. So, current position on the board.
Yeah,
Rook
so black
H1.
had to give this queen c6 check, and
King
maybe
goes
he will have to
C1.
sacrifice the queen on h1.
Is that really
Maybe
the only way? Is that really the only way to fight against this Rook H8 mate?
it could easily be. It could easily be.
Wow, that's quite incredible. Okay, before I give the queen with black, one would always look for what are the alternatives. So Rook F8, like Peter, you pointed out, this Queen H5 check and Queen H1 on the board. Probably no other alternative to play against Rook H8, and Queen H1 played. So Black's got a rook and a knight. Let's just do some counting. And 2 pawns. So materially, it's not so bad for Black.
Yeah, materially it's perfectly fine, and also strategically it's perfectly fine with all the light squares. The question is, in long terms, what will happen with the black king? If the black king will find a nice shelter, then it's gonna be black who will be pushing, but it's still far away of seeing this black king getting to safe shelter.
So it's not really being an extra queen in this position with all the material that Black has, but White still has to play for mate.
Yeah. Another question is, will we see another repetition? Look at this. King A1, Rook C8 played. So a very logical move would be now Queen H5, going after mate, and then Rook FC7. Rook FC7. Threatening Rook C1 contra mate myself, and after Queen H8 check, King F7, you have to give perpetual check with Queen H5.
Congratulations, Peter. You've done it again. You found another.
I done it again because I have to explain to the public. Another question was, White can also play Queen H2 instead of Queen H5.
Wait,
that's the move and that's what happened.
So Queen H5 not played, and in fact, let's just see what happened here right at the end. So after Rook C8, White just went Queen H2, and this is game over. Can you just explain to us why?
Exactly, because the point is that now the difference is White gonna go Rook H8 check and then Queen H5. Then maybe this.
Oh, this is beautiful.
Yeah,
I mean, the point
maybe
is
actually,
that your rook is ahead of the queen, and then you just win like this.
Yeah, maybe Karjakin has simply blundered this Queen H2, not now, but long back. He maybe felt that this position should be defendable, but after Queen H2, it was just one move and it's over.
Yeah, and Rook F6 also doesn't really, Rook F6 or Rook C7 doesn't help, because you can even just trade on C8, take on F6 and have a winning position, probably more, better, stronger ways to play, but at least you have that. And after Rook C7, White wins because, like you said, Peter, that now the Rook is in front of the Queen, just defending all the 8th rank against the King escape, and it's just checkmate after this.
Yeah,
Queen
absolutely.
H2, beautiful finish.
I mean, I have seen the move Queen H2, but I completely also underestimated that after Queen H2, Rook H8, Queen H5 is checkmate, yeah? And it's a very, you pay a very big price for that. I think Karjakin just forgot it long back, that this Queen H2 will be so incredibly strong.
And of course, Dubov found it almost instantly that Queen H5 is not working, but Queen H2 just finishes the game, which makes me wonder, Peter, if Karjakin had a better way to play after sacrificing this Queen on H1. Let's just have this up.
Yeah, but basically his whole play was based on this Bishop C6, Bishop E4. So this, I believe, still had to be played, that's for sure.
So Bishop C6 was played here, and
yeah, Rook H4.
Yeah, because it just makes me wonder about this whole point of inviting this rook ahead of the queen, so that this Rook H4, Queen H2 sort of comes in. Bishop C6 is the move that you want to make, but this makes it even more dangerous.
But this case also you give space for your rook from F7, yeah, because with the bishop on D7 there will be no good place to put the rook from F7. Yeah, that's the problem.
Yeah, probably just a very, this attack against Black's king is just too strong, and it's very difficult. It's probably just lost for Black, actually, this position then, because there's no way to fight against this plan.
Yeah, absolutely. But actually in this regard, then it's a masterpiece by Dubov.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, the first round win, super important in these situations because it kind of sets the tone and there's no coming back from this. Remember, guys, this is the final mini match to decide who is the semi-finalist amongst these two. Dubov with a dominating performance in their first mini match, scoring 3-0, finishing that, just bulldozing his way into that. And even on the second day, kind of dominating the whole match situation. Karjakin just surviving with a miraculous win in the Armageddon. And now starting the day, it kind of gives the feeling that Dubov is feeling the anger, bringing all the anger to the board, because extremely fiery chess by Dubov in round 1 of today.
Yeah, in this sense, maybe it was also very good for him that he was white, because with white he had the chance to dictate the tone for this game. And okay, to disbalance Sergei, and especially Sergei, who has definitely was very, very pleased with yesterday's outcome, and I think he was getting a lot of strength out of this miraculous comeback. But what Daniel Dubov has done here to deal with this situation in a way that he managed to deal with is just true masterpiece. I mean, it's just incredible to crush Sergei like this. Amazing stuff.
Absolutely incredible game by Daniel Dubov. And I think let's quickly also, Peter, take a look at what happened in the other match, because it really looked like a sort of a peaceful game, nothing much going on. But then suddenly when we went back to it, all hell had already broken loose.
Yeah, but exactly that's the point behind the Isri Nimzo, that Isri Nimzo always starts slow, but actually that's the whole concept behind it, that you don't want to force the action. You get a very rich middle game position and then things will slowly heat up, and I believe exactly that's what happened in this game. So after a5, black played the very principal move b5, and everything would be under control for black, but white had here this possibility to play c4. And thanks to this move c4 and after b4 d5, it's obvious that white created a very nice long-term pressure position. And from this moment on, black is definitely on the defensive. So Dink had to be sure, and he goes for some blockading position. This was another step for white, yeah, that in order white forced black to play e5. Yes, the position is blocked, the knight on d6 is very nice, but the black pawn on c5 is very weak. So in this sense, the knight on d6 and the knight on d7 are making a very important job, keeping the position together, plus defending the very weak, vulnerable c5 pawn. So white will start action now on the king side, and this is what we are seeing. So the next phase of the game, white tries to break through on the king side thanks to his space advantage. So let's take a look at the game.
So knight g3. Probably knight g3 is aimed against f5. Does black want to get a move like f5 in these positions?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, f5, and suddenly black would be the one calling the shots on the king side. So one option for white was to play g4 immediately and then follow it up with knight g3, but maybe he felt like he's not yet ready for this. And in this sense, he felt like, okay, first I'm going to go knight g3 and I will decide later what I will do. So
a6 on the board, rook e1. You know, I look at this and I look at the final position that we have on the screen on the little board, and it's just so hard to imagine how did this position from here get to that.
Yeah, but now black played rook f8, and black is already now showing his intentions again to play f7, f5, breaking the structure. So white has to stop this.
Peter, it's a very thematic idea when you have a blockade on d6 to break with a move like f5.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, on one side, it's a little bit strange that you change the knight from d6 because it's such a blockading knight, and that's exactly probably the reason why black is not yet in hurry to play f5. He just keeps this idea ready, but he doesn't want to use it yet.
Not only yet, he has a completely different idea, because here, instead of going for f5 and breaking it, probably because white has prepared well for it, trying to put pressure on the e5 pawn after the trade on f5, black goes with a very solid f6.
Yeah.
Instead.
Yeah, so now white just moved the bishop, so black went queen f7. Yeah, everything is so-called logical. Yeah, once you see that your opponent got ready for this f6, f5 break, then it's the typical way. You don't want to do it. You feel like, aha, my opponent is ready. Then on the other hand, with rook e1 and rook e2, how will white really try to break? Yeah, because white's chances of breaking would be somehow shifting the rooks toward the f file and try to break with f4, but this structure doesn't really look like white can break with f4. So finally he goes for knight f5, trades these knights off and goes g4. And that's where this king march starts.
Right, but that's also kind of required, because now white was already threatening rook g2 and to open this very, very disastrous g file. So now black thinks that it's probably better for him to keep the king on d8, where there's no check and very, very safe, instead of on the king side.
Yeah, I mean, this position, and now we are getting to this d6 check, king d8, queen d5, and it looked like it's very dangerous, but maybe Ding was the one who understood this, that yeah, it looks dangerous, but calculated very well that move per move he's holding, and he managed to hang on.
We do have liftoff in one of our games, Peter. Let's just quickly go through how this ended. So black offered a queen trade. You, of course, don't want to do that, because then white's worse. Gave up this pawn, took on g7, and now forced very concrete line, which saw this beautiful idea of white trying to go rook e2, rook d2, putting pressure on d7. But after rook c7, white had nothing better to do but to repeat with queen a8, queen b7. Let's quickly see, because they've kicked off their game 2 of the day, and what happened in the opening.
Yeah, we see another queen's gambit accepted. To me, it looks a little bit strange that Yuan is going for this position just like that, because this line doesn't have such a good reputation. I mean, it's a very solid line, everything, but it's considered to give white free hand. And usually I would argue that you should not give any chances of Ding getting a slightly better position out of the opening, because he's just very, very strong with these slight advantages.
That's going to be hard to do with the black pieces. It's just so much pressure to make sure that Ding, because of his extreme monstrous play, just not allowing any counterplay. But what I also admire about Ding, Peter, is not just his technique and his power when it comes to better position, but he's also an extremely pragmatic player.
Yeah, and he's also a fantastic calculator, and he is very, very good in almost every aspect, or maybe even all aspect in chess. That's why he's number 3 in the world. So very, very tricky. I mean, I would say that the best way to deal with Ding is to play some incredible good preparation with the black pieces and not let him get his game. Because if he gets his game, then it's very difficult to stop him.
Yeah, to me, it seems like the best way to deal with Ding is to be Magnus Carlsen.
That usually helps.
It helps in every way. Also, going to be trying to keep an eye on the Twitch chat here. I've got my iPad on, so if there's anything that our audience wants to ask or any questions you guys have, I'm going to keep an eye out on it and hopefully get some of that in. The second game is we do have kickoff in our second game as well. Daniel Dubov against Sergei Karjakin. Things did not go well for Sergei at all in game 1. Going to be quite tough for him to make a comeback in this.
Yeah, and look at this. We are seeing another Philidor by Daniel Dubov. The opening which he had abandoned so far in his match against Sergei Karjakin, but has used in the preliminary tournament a lot. And Sergei is the one who came up with a surprise, I think, by taking with the queen on d4. This is not entirely mainstream, but it was always considered to be one of the main lines. Simply that white was doing very well with knight takes d4. There was no need lately to really develop this theory with queen takes d4. But since Daniel has shown in all those games that he was feeling quite comfortable and confident in this typical Philidor structure, so it was a logical choice for Sergei to try to get some different play against Daniel. And look at this. Daniel wants to solve the problems immediately in true Daniel Dubov style. Queen d4, knight c6, bishop b5, bishop d7, queen d3, and knight b4. Look at this.
Such a concrete player.
Yeah, very concrete. Bishop takes d7, queen takes d7, queen b3, and d6, d5 on the board. Very much in the Scandinavian spirit.
Yeah,
Black
and we
is
did see
trying
him.
to
We
free
did see him
himself.
employ. We did see him employ some interesting opening choices by Daniel Dubov yesterday.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he was playing this Scandinavian stuff, and when I look at this position after d6, d5, there is no way that it will come to your mind that this was a Philidor. I mean, somehow you feel very much that this is the true Scandinavian spirit by breaking the center so quickly. And already yesterday, we were commenting with Peter Swidler, and Peter was highlighting very nicely that, yes, don't be fooled by Daniel Dubov's choices. Whenever he plays some artificial strange opening, it means that he has studied it very, very carefully, and that's how he comes up with all these original new twists, because that requires a lot of work. First of all, you have to find the directions inside this so-called not that mainstream lines and the lines which have not that good reputation, and then go deep. You have to believe in them and keep on working till you find the resources.
Yes, and Karjakin having a think here, because this is again, like you mentioned, one of the unique ways to play the Philidor. D5 on the board.
And you know, also I would like to highlight that the point by playing third move, move 4, queen takes d4, White is actually saying that I want to make sure that you will not have any breaks in the position. So that's why it also has such a huge psychological effect, such an impact on the player, because it feels like after queen d4, yeah, maybe I will not get big advantage. I even don't want to get big advantage, but I want to be in control of things. And all of a sudden, a few moves later, you have lost the control. This is the true magic.
Yeah, and Daniel not having any of the, I don't want any close positions. I'm going to get the break anyway, and goes for d5.
Yeah, and you see, I mean, in all these games, it feels like Daniel is trying to put the pressure on Sergei right from the beginning, that I will not give you the stable, solid position where you are so happy and you are so strong. I will try to disbalance you as quickly as possible, not let you play your own game. This is what Daniel is using throughout this match. But there was one game which was completely different when Daniel Dubov won a Catalan, a very slow maneuvering Catalan position against Sergei Karjakin. And that game also showed that, yes, we know this characteristic of Dubov being the artist and playing all this very special magician chess, but he's also very capable of playing a nice classical strategical game.
I think this reminds me of what even Peter said the other day, the other Peter Swidler said the other day about Dubov just saying that it doesn't matter what is the objective valuation of the position. The more important thing for me to do is to get Karjakin out of the kind of positions in which Karjakin feels most comfortable in. And d5 responded by a3, and Daniel just immediately grabs on e4.
Yeah, that's the whole point. I mean, Black's play is based on this intermediate move, on this d takes e4, and now the big question is how to deal with this. I mean, first move that comes to mind is something like knight e5. Another move is just to recapture on b4.
So the first move that comes to mind is
knight e5 or capture on b4. One of these two moves.
So let's take a look at knight e5. So now your queen, Black has to probably go
queen f5, maybe queen f5 or queen d5 or queen b5. I mean, yeah, queen d5. Sorry, not queen b5, of course.
Yeah, because queen f7 was a little in the air. So queen d5 or queen f5, and then probably that's the idea. But instead, and this would probably be okay for Black now, because now after you move your queen, if you trade, Black's happy. If you move the queen, the knight comes back and things look pretty good for Black, or even a move like
then c2 pawn is hanging.
And c2 pawn is hanging, and just everything falls. So knight e5, queen d5 looked good. Instead, Sergei took on b4.
Yeah, and after EF3, he played short castle. This is the principal way to play the position.
But, right. So, can black just take on G2 now?
Yeah, you can take, but then I'm gonna give a very unpleasant rook e1 check, and I will be the one going after your king. So I believe psychologically f take g3 is a move that black doesn't really want to do.
So then what does black, how does black want to continue here?
Yeah, that's a very good point. I mean, one of the questions and very important points is that after queen g4, I most probably will not be able to change the exchange the queens, because you can anyway play rook e1 check, and after bishop e7 you can play a move like g3.
Because queen h3 is not there because queen f3 hangs.
Exactly, yeah. And the whole point is that I want to keep the pressure on the e file. So in this sense, Daniel said, no, I need my queen on d7 because this gives stability on this piece on e7 with which I will be covering the check. So
right.
f take g2 played.
Fg2 on the board. Let's just get that up.
Yeah, fg2 played, rook e1 check played as well, and bishop e7. So one of the moves that came to my mind was something like rook a5, rook a e5, just to bringing the rook quickly to
That's
the
a
game.
beautiful lift.
Yeah, that's okay. That's the typical stuff because the pawn on b4 enables me this chance. Yeah.
Yeah. Also makes life very difficult for black because long castle is never an option because of this a7 pawn.
Yeah, never is maybe too harsh of a word, because if I go rook e5, you might go long castle. So if you keep
never
the
say
knight,
never.
yeah, but exactly that's kind of the point. That if you have to waste a move on a6, then I feel that I'm able to change my concept. Then maybe knight c3, knight d5 ideas will appear.
Right.
So my feeling is that it looks quite risky for black, but on the other hand, Dubov must be still, or should be, in his preparation.
So rook e1, bishop e7 on the board. Let's quickly take a look at the other game. Yu Yanggi and Ding Liren always starts off as much quieter than what happens in Dubov's games.
Yeah, but I hear already that it's quiz time. Yeah, so I give it to you, Tanya.
All right. Yes. Okay. So just a reminder, because it's 5 p.m. already now, this is what you have to do right now. Go on chess24.com/quiz because the questions are up. And remember, in case they're not, just refresh your page. They will be up very soon. It's not just about entering the contest, but entering it with speed, because in case there is a tie in the cumulative score at the very end, it will be broken by the contestant who entered the fastest. So speed matters, not just in the rapid, not just in the Lindores Abbey rapid challenge, but also in this quiz that we are doing, where the grand prize is the chessboard designed by Anatoly Karpov worth 1,000 euros. 3 of these grand prizes will be given out to the top cumulative scorer of this 4-part quiz. Today is the 3rd part. We're probably going to be having the questions up here soon, Peter, but I don't see them. Okay, but let's first take a look. What we do have up here is the question from our round 2 of the quiz. Today is round 3. And which world champion was the first to have a cameo appearance in a feature film? We were discussing this extensively. Obviously, none of us have a clue. And it was Capablanca. I didn't know. Peter, did you know that Capablanca actually appeared in a movie?
I was not sure, but somehow I had it in my mind that maybe I have heard about it, but I would have not been able to answer it with any guarantees.
Oh, wow. And the second one as well, in which the World Chess Championship match was an electronic chess clock used for the first time. So I think this was a little confusing because it was not the analog, not the old school chess clock, but actually the digital one. And this was in the Kasparov Anand match, the World Championship match in New York in 1995. I think this was held at the World Trade Center, one of the most epic World Championship matches. Which player played their first official game in a World Championship match? So this meant against each other, obviously not their first chess game. That would be quite a world record. And this was Steinitz against Günzburg, and also Steinitz against Lasker and Tal against Botvinnik. So lots of answers there. And we also have our winners from round 2. The first place to Jolimai, second place to Europameister, and third place to someone who beat. I have beaten Kasparov. Well done you. This is going to be even bigger than that because you might get a chance. Not only have you beaten Kasparov, you might even win a chessboard designed by Karpov. And today's questions, Peter, in which novel does the heroine meet a red chess piece? Name the author and the novel. Okay, this one I know. This one I know. This is a very, I love this question. I love it, only because I know it. The characters of which fantasy novel and movie had to win a chess game to accomplish their mission? Okay, no idea on this. Peter, do you have any idea on this one?
No, not at all. No.
In what city were 2 world championship matches played? One real and one fictional. And I love how there's a hint to this. There's one popular opening system also named after this location. All right, guys. So you have got an hour to go. Enter this quiz. Go and enter this competition for your chance to win this chessboard designed by Karpov. And talking about legends, we have another legend joining us right now. Sasha, hi.
Good evening, Tanya. Hi, Peter.
Yeah, hi, Alexander.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We have very interesting matches today. The decisive matches are played. 2 of the quarterfinals are finished with a sweep, with 2-0, and 2 matches went into decisive, third match. And you know, in NBA, they are always saying that seventh game is a special one. So that's what we have here. And so far, I think all 4 games are very interesting. The 2 first games, and now 2 second games, all are very fighting.
Sasha, when I was talking about in the beginning that you'll be joining us, we all know that you only make an appearance on the show when you believe that the games are worthy of an appearance by you. So what is it that you find interesting at the moment in the 2 games?
No, I mostly I want some intrigue to commentate on, you know. So of course today are some, I don't even know who are the favorites. I mean, Ding is of course a favorite on paper, but he has very hard time playing Yang Yi. It's not the first time he is having hard time playing with him, and so let's see.
Why do you feel that Ding has a hard time playing against Yang Yi?
Not just historically, so I mean, he lost a number of games to him.
Right, and also had to make a comeback in this mini match of theirs because he lost the first one. And but I have to say, in terms of the chess-wise of it, even though he did lose the first rapid mini match, it did feel like Ding Liren has been the one, at least from the chess point of view, having the better positions and having more control over the board in this particular match, at least.
No, I think in general, Yang Yi plays extremely well against Chinese players. For example, he has like, I don't know, I think like +10 against Wei Yi, which is mysterious to me, but he just beats him almost every single time.
All right, well, let's look at some chess. So what's going on in the position? Should we jump into the Dubov's game? Because I see Black's king is on f8, which is always an exciting position to start with. So what happened here?
Yeah, some weird stuff happened, starting with queen take d4, because I think knight take d4. I don't know. I mean, Dubov had good results in this line with black, but I think the positions he was getting were very, very mediocre, to say the least.
So tell me one thing, how does it work for you guys? Like if you have an opening in which, let's say, you're getting a good result, but the positions have been sort of dubious, would you continue with that? Or is it, or let's say there's an opening where, you know, like you're not getting a good result, but you know it wasn't the opening's fault. How does it work? Do you continue with that opening, or do you change based on the result you're getting?
No, I think Peter, if he gets a dubious position one time in the opening, he changes the whole opening, yeah, because he cannot stand getting a dubious position.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. Yeah, I mean, for me, it just doesn't work that way. But I also believe that the fact that we are seeing so much Philidor from Daniel is the fact that this is rapid chess. I mean, in classical chess, he would not dare to repeat this Philidor so many times, because those positions that already Alexander also mentioned, they felt quite dubious, but they might not be so dubious in a rapid game, because it's relatively easy to play with black if you know the ideas. And maybe white is better, but white is the one who has to show the ideas over the board, and you will burn more time. So we will see if Daniel will also continue using Philidor in classical chess, or it was just for the rapid.
Well, for now, Karjakin continued using your idea, Peter, of going rook a5. So this is where we left it last. Let's take it from here. After rook a5, black went king f8.
Yeah, and I'm very interested of Sasha's feelings about this position.
I have no feelings. It's just very random. I don't know. No, I guess black should be okay. I don't know. Maybe white should take on a7, because I don't think he has much chance of delivering some mate or something like this. To me, it looks like actually white's king is maybe more weak than black's one.
Yeah, I also feel like the last few moves had been clearly in favor of black, that basically Daniel has proven that, yes, it looked like it's very dangerous, but I knew more or less what I have been doing. And this whole king f8, bishop d6, knight f6, rook e8 exchange, it seems like he was so precise and he was just in time to stabilize his position. And now we are in a completely different phase. That, yeah, exactly. White is also facing with the fact that he's 2 pawns down, and there are no concrete threats. So, but if white has to start collecting back the pawns, it's not something I would be that happy with.
Yeah, I mean, actually, if the queens were exchanged, white would be very fine, yeah? But, so that's what I mean, that white's king is worse than black's.
Guys, can black take on h2 in this position? Is just so tempting to try this line. So you have to probably take on h2. And now
queen g4.
I'm thinking queen g4, or g1 first. Okay, let's try this. So you take, and now queen g4. Is this queen g3, right?
Probably, yes. You take
and
c4.
How do you evaluate this kind of a position for black? Still pretty bad?
No, but why bad? And first of all, still bad. I mean, I think it's not bad to start with. So,
yeah, I mean, at least it looks very double-edged. Yeah.
And what was going on after queen g4? You probably just go king g1.
But then the bishop on g5 is hanging or not?
Yeah, but then what do you play here?
No,
Queen
maybe
G3?
still queen g3.
Queen g3.
But now it looks, yeah, even better for black. Queen takes c4.
So rook a7 on the board.
Okay,
and
black played h6 already.
None of that, just h6 simply.
So now maybe white can try to... What happens if bishop h4, g5, bishop g3 taken? White has nothing to take with, because if queen takes, then queen d1, queen d5, and take a knight.
Oh, that's nice.
And if h g3, then queen h3, and just checkmate.
So if... Yeah, this is even nicer. So...
I don't
and
know.
FG runs into queen d4 as well. So just everything. collapses.
So I guess bishop h4. Okay, at least the bishop h4, g5. You have to take on d6, but maybe that's not what you want.
Does a move like queen c3 help the cause at all? Because now the d4 square is under control, so at least I can capture back with the f pawn.
Okay, I don't know, but then even rook.
Yeah.
I don't know. I have no idea what.
No idea about this position. Peter, what about you? So maybe not bishop h4 as well, because here white does have some options.
Yeah, and we see that this poor little pawn on g2 is doing a lot of damage. Usually one argues that enemy pawn in front of your king is gives you a nice shelter and everything, but this pawn on g2 is causing some real trouble for white.
Yeah, and black's main problem is, of course, that the rook is not in the game, but all right, it's not so easy for white to make the most of it. Yes, Alexander, you were saying something?
Maybe bishop d2 to not block the third rank and prepare some queen f3. So first queen f3, then okay, it attacks b7. You prepare to take on g2, unless there is some tactical trick by black. Like queen g4. There is queen g4. Yeah.
So queen g4 threatening bishop h2. So.
But maybe then take on d6, and now if knight takes, we can check and pin black.
Exactly, and you also have queen e3 check against king e7 also.
Yeah. So I don't know. At the moment, I like bishop d2 the most, but let's see what Sergei will do.
Yeah, one thing I think we should mention about this position, that if white managed to stabilize, because then he will have very nice compensation. It's simply long-term compensation. It's the question, how is black also solving his long-term issues if white avoids all kinds of direct traps involved in the lines that we have seen in this bishop h4 g5.
Yeah, I also like bishop d2 because, for example, a move like bishop c1, then this idea that we saw with bishop h2 also works again.
Yeah, but bishop c1 just doesn't.
You don't want to make that move anyway, ever.
Okay, so Sergei plays bishop d2.
Yeah,
it's a professional move.
It cost him quite some time. I mean, 5 minutes, and he's done to 3 minutes on the clock. This is a little bit scary.
Yeah, but he's very good at not blundering. I mean, if he manages to consolidate, then he can even put pressure with little time. So let's see. Also, we should not forget that he would really like to win this game, yeah, because he is down 1-0 in this match.
I mean, if he doesn't manage to make a comeback in this game with the white pieces, it could be very well the end of the road for Sergei in this tournament.
Look what happens in the Dean game. It looks like he collapses. His center collapsed. He first sacrificed the d4 pawn and now blundered e4 pawn.
All right, let's just take it quickly from what happened, because we didn't have a look at this game at all.
Yeah,
okay,
only
so
at the very beginning.
Bishop g4 line, yeah, which is not the greatest of lines, but it worked for him somehow.
But also, I think like not playing objectively the greatest lines is sometimes a good idea for shorter time formats, because in general, then you have more chances of surprising your opponent as well.
Yeah.
So queen d4.
Okay, it's the typical scenario when you play something dubious and it works, people will say, yeah, it was brilliant strategy. If it backfires, then how on earth could you have played such stuff, yeah?
Yeah, but this time I think it worked to just perfection.
So queen d6 and white continued with f4, but it looks good for black already, no?
Yeah, but maybe he missed this b5. Maybe this b7 b5 move was the turning point. Maybe it was missed by Ding earlier.
Let's take a look at this. So you mean f4, b5 here?
Yeah, because it felt to me like he sacrificed the pawn and he had this very concrete idea like rook a4 and f4, and he's combining the ideas to go for f5 and also targeting the b4 bishop. But all of a sudden after b5, this idea just fall apart.
Yeah, and ab6 doesn't help because you just take it back with the knight, and then again your rook on a4 is under attack. Instead he went back and then just knight e7. So f5 is still not possible because of queen g3. So king g2 played to stop queen g3 and now threatening f5. So black went back queen d7, defending against f5. It looks like white still has pressure. How do you...
Yeah, but it's like very difficult in rapid. You have all those pawns hanging. You need to somehow get control, and he just didn't manage to. I think he blundered everything. He blundered bishop c5 probably, that you cannot take, yeah, because of check. And now he blundered knight take e4. I mean, I'm sure almost every his decision is was because of some kind of blunder in some line.
Yeah, now he's down to 2 minutes and looking very, very bad for Ding.
I don't know. You still it's maybe not completely clear, because let's say if white plays bishop c2, I think it's refuted only by taking on e3 and playing f5, right? Or there is something else? So I mean, it's still, maybe there is some, okay, so he goes king f3. I have,
yeah, what is king f3?
He just wants to collect the knight somehow.
Yeah.
So now actually both c5 and e4 are hanging. So what happens now? What about knight h4 check, take on e4, e5? No, that doesn't work, I guess.
This looks like the king should get mated at some point, like
yeah,
at that
but
point.
how? e5, queen g4.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, but there
Yes.
is the line I wanted to go instead of knight h4 first, bishop takes e3. Can I force your queen to e3?
So instead of knight h4,
Yeah.
bishop e3 here.
Yeah, I wanted to take and then knight h4 check, king e4 c5. That was one of my, but then you can take queen takes c5, yeah, and you have queen c6. Okay.
So the whole idea is to just give one successful check with black, but here this doesn't work because the queen is able to come to
No,
c6.
but maybe we can combine our ideas and play e5 instead of c5.
Yeah, but actually e5 was played immediately already.
Okay, so it's better because you attack h3 now.
All right, let's just go to the game right now, which is e5 on the board. So this is an absolutely crazy position. It looks like white should be getting mated.
Yeah, one has this feeling that if this is not made, then what? But we have seen already more miracles. So.
Yeah, show me the mate after bishop c5. So queen h3 looks like something you want to play, or even...
But also, let's not forget that after taking on c5, I can just pick up the b3 bishop with queen h3.
Yeah.
Yeah, instead...
3 pawns up and more to come, I think.
Yes.
This looks disgusting for white. Like white's going to be a lot of pawns down. And this knight on a2 doesn't help the cause. All right, it looks like it's going to be game over for Liren very soon, no?
Yeah, definitely.
But at least he's not getting mated anymore. Just a few million pawns.
Our coaches was saying you don't need to mate, straightforwardly. You can just win a couple of pawns, then queen them in the endgame, and then to mate with 2 extra queens. So,
yeah. The Soviet school of chess has strange teachings.
I think
and queen takes d1. Look at this final position. It's game over.
Oh wow! So just blundered, but blundered like Alexander was saying many things in this game. Yeah, queen d1, a nice finish.
Yeah, I would even say that one cannot claim that this was any blunder. It was just already so completely lost that he had no choice.
Yu Yangi making a comeback win with the black pieces.
And take a look at Karjakin's game. Look what black has done.
Yeah,
Just setting up the
King G8
pieces for the next game.
Yeah, King G8, Bishop F8. What is this, Fischer random chess or what?
And Bishop C3 played.
Yeah,
So let's
black
just-
is completely paralyzed, yeah?
So Bishop C3, he wants to stop Knight F6, I guess, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, so now there is no doubt that white is calling the shots, of course, yeah?
Yeah, in fact, it feels like it should be winning for white.
Yeah, sure.
Kind of hard to come up for a move for black, no? So wait, what is the idea after Knight F6? You said it's against Knight F6. Is that because you want to just trade this off? Or no? Or is
I
that
think that's his idea, because otherwise, why would you play Bishop C3? It just
so
looks
Bishop
like
F6, G-F6. Is this an absolute disaster for black?
I don't know.
It feels like a disaster, but who knows?
I mean, in this entire commentary setup, if anyone's supposed to know, it's the two of you.
Yeah, but it's so confusing. I mean, you see, I mean, we have the feeling, it's obvious that, yeah, white should be better, white should be winning. But, okay, if you ask us, like, concretely, is it winning? We are not able to answer you. But one thing was sure, that black will never let this structure happen. So Daniel played F6.
Fair enough. No direct lines. F6 on the board. So how's white winning now, Peter?
I want to make a claim that why F6 was played in a pure human point of view, that after Bishop C3, white also signaled that maybe if you move the knight, I want to give Queen takes G2 checkmate, thanks to the pin on the 8th rank, yeah? I mean,
Queen takes G2?
Queen takes G7, sorry, Queen takes G7, checkmate. I mean, something like Queen D4, you go Knight D6 and Queen G7 checkmate. That's already also a signalation by playing Bishop C3. And with F6, you make sure that, no, my friend, I understand that you want to mate me on G7. I will not let that happen.
Just to show your beautiful line.
Yeah.
All right, but stopping all of that, F6 on the board and B3, quiet move.
Sergei is not in a hurry at all. He's playing, little moves. Bishop C3, B3, one square moves.
Yeah, now he has the winning set of Queen G6 after he stabilizes Knight on C4.
Yeah.
So defending the Knight on C4 with idea Queen. I like this explanation, just one square at a time. But it's also a very enjoyable position for Sergei. So I think he's really taking his time here.
But let's say black plays Knight D6. What is white? How does he win? Take on F6 then?
Yeah, Bishop F6 looks like something we should check.
Queen F5, can I go Queen F5?
But I think I will go maybe to endgame.
So just claiming that this ending is better after taking on F5?
No, I think it's much better. Just take Bishop E5. I'm virtually pulling up because I will collect the G2 guy. Okay, so Queen H5 played.
Queen H5 on the board. Still no threats from black. This looks like a Dubov nightmare kind of position.
And we are calmly commenting and analyzing the scenario. Look at the clock situation, 40 seconds versus 38 seconds. The players are not in their comfortable situation for sure.
So what's going on now? If Queen D8, then what?
Queen D8 looks very nice. What is this position?
How to continue?
Where Queen E2 maybe, Queen E2.
Ah, Queen E2.
But then you have Knight E3.
Yes, Knight E3.
Then you have Knight E3 and you are calming things down.
Okay, so
and this would be game over. Instead, Queen E4 played.
So what's going on now? Knight D6, take.
Knight D6 on the board, just takes it, and then probably takes back.
But now it's not so simple because now there is some perpetual check set up.
And rook
You mean-
b8 played.
Okay, so he's continuing with one square moves.
I think this is a great way to describe White's style of play in this game. Just one square at a time. And after rook b8, black went d5. Just check. And another one square move by White, taking on b7.
And now it depends if black finds some resource, because if he doesn't, he will lose, I mean, slowly, but I mean, not very slowly, but definitely will lose. So now let's see what black comes up with.
Black
take-
wants to take on c2, yeah?
Yeah, and then he will have checks from g6. So it looks like black has good chances to escape, yeah? Suddenly.
So queen f6 on the board.
Yeah, queen f6.
Yeah, but now, okay, queen e4, check maybe d4.
First d4. Wow. So
Wow,
this,
d4.
this is a beautiful move. So bishop d4 not possible because of queen e4, and you lose either the bishop or the rook. And if queen d4, then this idea of Alexander giving this geometric checks
And
all
Karjakin
across the
blundered
board.
king
did
f3
he-
was probably still winning, yeah?
Did he
Oh
just
my
blunder a
God.
rook? Did he just... What is going on? Did
Oh
White just
my
blunder a
God.
rook?
Yeah.
Oh
And
my
even
God.
he doesn't have perpetual because black will have queen f7. Yeah.
Unbelievable. What was that? Okay, let's just...
Yeah, chess is a cruel game. That's it.
This is just lost now for Sergey. King g8 played. Bishop
Oh, it
e5.
definitely lost. Yeah, there is no question.
This is...
But now actually White managed to set up an idea of queen c4 check, queen f7, b6 with some drawing chances. So now black has to find the precise way.
And that's a nice idea. So what you're saying, Alexander, is just to demonstrate black cannot play ideas like h5, rook h6 right now because this...
No,
runs
not
into-
taking on f7, just immediately b6.
Yeah, right. Sorry. b6 here immediately, even stronger. And this is impossible to stop the b7 pawn, the b6 pawn.
Okay, but I think Dubov found a good response.
Bishop e7 played, queen c4 check, king f8, creating the square for the king, and bishop d4.
No, now h5 I think should be good enough.
Yes. This
Yeah,
is
and
the
what
way
a,
you want to bring
what
out
a
the
turn of events, because if Daniel wins this, then he will be 2 up in the match.
Unreal. And Sergey really looked like he had it in control in this game, and playing these as Alexander defined it, one move at a time, and h5, just everything was going his way, and then just blundered. We will have a look, but let's stay with the current position. Black went h5, Sergey with b6, and the rook comes out, and now it's all game over, expecting Sergey to resign.
Yeah.
Yeah, we are
But-
speechless.
Wow, just unbelievable. So what was it that went wrong for White?
Just blunder the rook, that's what went wrong.
d4 was missed by White, or what?
No, but d4 is nothing. I mean, just as I said, queen g6, king f3, and I think White is absolutely winning on move 32.
Let's just take a look at that. So d4 was missed by White here, and queen d4 anyway, queen g6, and here
King f3. Just.
king f3. And the point is that queen c6, you've got queen e4.
Yeah, but I think I even want to play queen e4 anyway, even if you...
Right.
I mean, at
Yeah,
the
this
end,
is just game
you're
over.
absolutely winning. Let's say rook g8 and queen e4. Okay, you might
Unbelievable.
make one check to confuse me with some, I don't know, queen 5 check, but I mean, okay, you just have to avoid some terrible blunder. I think anything wins here. King e2, king e3, whatever.
King e2, yeah, because now there is just no good check. What an absolute turnaround of events, and let's just go to our final position. Sergey, a rook down, counting on this b pawn for some counterplay, down to seconds, but the position just looks completely lost. King e1 and rook
And
e2.
knight checkmate.
Beautiful finish, but of course there were probably more ways than just bishop h4. And Sergey resigns.
Yeah, absolutely heartbreaking for Sergey, but I mean, after knowing what happened yesterday, we can feel that, okay, it was also nice that Daniel got lucky finally.
Just amazing. So what does that mean? That means that Daniel Dubov with 2 out of 2. Sergey must win the next 2 rounds to force an Armageddon. Otherwise, it's just end of journey for Sergey at the tournament, and Dubov qualifies. In the other round, we had Yu Yangi making his comeback win. I think we're probably going to go for a break, a short, quick break before round 3.
No, but it's already in progress. Their third game is in progress.
Right. All right. Let's just jump to our board here. Ding Liren against Yu Yangi is liftoff, and this is what we have. Let's take it from the top.
Yeah, and this knight c6 is the first new move compared to the game in the first round.
It is interesting that Yu Yangi is not trying to just make a draw in this game. He goes for some fight, because sometimes players with a +1 lead will just make a short draw with white. Like even Magnus did this yesterday, yeah?
Yeah. But actually the way white is playing this position is very risky, because usually I would say that this is the way to play with white if you are in a must-win situation from the white side. You are burning bridges and you try to go for some real complication, but if you are leading the score, then to go into such a double-edged fight is somewhat surprising.
Yeah, that's what I said. So...
And now the knight got to c6. You remember, Tanya, we were discussing these positions, and now instead of this little slow typical but slow b6, Ding changed the plans, and he tried to make use that the white knight is on e2 and went for knight c6 e5 break in the center.
Right, instead of getting the knight to d7, and here white continued with short castle, breaking in the center with e5, knight g3, and like you mentioned, with the idea to come to h5.
Yeah, this is now very messy, but exactly this is what Ding needs.
I would not be very happy here with white, no? Even, I don't know, even f5 maybe makes some sense here.
Yeah, f5 was the move that also came to my mind, but Ding played h6. The only question what I have is that Yu Yangi is having 60 minutes on the clock. Does it mean that he's still in some kind of preparation, or is it just that he tries to put pressure on Ding Liren on the clock as well?
No, I'm sure it's preparation. And now I think he will play either f4 or e4, one of those.
Yeah.
Okay, so e4 is probably quite senseless, because this sacrifice on h6 will not achieve anything. So I guess f4 will be his move.
Yeah, I'm a little bit, you know, Tanya also, and Alexander is here. I want to ask Alexander that to me it looks like the players are taking very quick decisions in the opening phase. I mean, to me it looks quite strange, because if you are surprised in the opening and you have 50 minutes on the clock, wouldn't it be logical to try to spend some time and try to stabilize the position instead of go with the flow? And I'm seeing this in many games. What is your take on this?
No, but that's how modern players are playing. That's how to say, fashion nowadays. Just not thinking I don't know.
But you know,
But,
that's
you know,
exactly
I
the
was-
reason why I'm so happy when you are playing, Alexander, because I feel like you are, I mean, you are still the old generation. I mean, the one who tries to make sense to things. And I sympathize with this very, very much, with this approach.
Yeah, but it doesn't work so well, right?
Yes, I know from myself. Yeah, but that's why it's so nice that you are there still on the top, and you are still fighting with this old way of thinking and mixing with modern twists.
Yeah, but actually, I would say white is, if anything, is worse here, no?
Yeah,
I mean,
if
it looks like-
any of these breaks with f4 is not working, then just give black some more time, and I don't understand what white is doing.
Yeah, I completely don't understand. You exchange the knight, you spend like 3 tempes to exchange one knight for another knight, and what exactly have you achieved if you are not making some kind of king-sized attack? I think the exchanges should favor black in this position. I don't know, maybe it's some great computerish idea, but I just don't understand. Okay, let's say rook f8 now. So
And the way Yu Yangi's played with rook b1, rook e1, it looks like he didn't even want to consider f4 as an idea.
I
Yeah,
don't
but
know.
also look at Yu Yangi's camera. I mean, just before now he changed the pose, but he was holding his head. He was like in full concentration, like if asking himself, "Why did I do that to myself?" Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see. I will look at him.
No, now he changed his pose, but before he was holding his head like, you know, why did I need it? I was the one who won the previous game. I mean, what is this?
And Dirk, his, how to say, his wall looks like some kind of sauna. Like he's playing in sauna. Because wood wall, yeah, behind him.
Yeah, it's a good point, yeah.
Maybe that's why he makes all those blunders, because it's too hot. I mean, Dink, don't play from sauna. It's, I mean, 100 Celsius is too hot for playing chess.
Like he's sitting in a sauna. I really appreciate the body language. So normally we've got Jan doing the whole body language analysis. Here we've got Alexander Grischuk analyzing backgrounds of the opponents.
But I also have the feeling that it's very peaceful behind Ding. I mean, and in sauna it's peaceful, no?
No, yeah, peaceful, yes. Peaceful, but then, you know, queen drops, like in game against me.
And like you mentioned, rook e8 played by Ding.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, this way of playing is beyond my understanding. What Yu Yang is doing.
Yeah, that's also what I wanted to highlight, that I believe that the previous game must have come as an incredible shock to Ding Liren, because losing to you with the white pieces, just 2 games to go, usually you have this feeling that, okay, most probably I will have to put all my efforts into my white game, try to win some game, and all of a sudden you just play your normal chess and you are given a chance with the black pieces to eventually strike back immediately. This is exactly the scenario Ding needed.
Okay, so I guess maybe White's point is just to make 1 square moves again, like h3, and then to always meet cd4 with ed4, and then if black recaptures again, then bishop take h6. I think this is the only way to make sense of what is already done.
Yeah, but it looks like black would have to help white a lot to get a successful bishop h6, or to help him make sense of what he's done.
Yeah, but on the other hand, if black is never wants to take on d4, then it's also not so easy for him to improve because he already has almost everything on ideal places. So I mean, the one way to really improve would be like b6, then queen e7, queen f6, but that looks so slow. But maybe he can afford it if white also does nothing, like h3, b6. So next move. I don't know.
One square moves for the win.
What do you think, Peter? What are the likely next moves?
Yeah, I mean, h3 I like very much. Yeah, it fits perfectly because, okay, white doesn't seem to have anything concrete, so let's try to make some useful move. The question is really what black gonna do after that, yeah? Because you feel like I put everything on the perfect squares, and rook f8 was this typical move which you are so happy with in a rapid game that you have rook f8, I'm gonna play it quickly and put the pressure on my opponent. His clock is ticking down, he has to decide, and I will also use his time to think already. So it's interesting, but I see that you moved to the Dubov Karjakin. Yeah, at least you had a look, Tanya.
Yes.
So if you want, let's jump right there.
More strange openings.
But they continue their debate in this bishop f5. It's already third game in this bishop f5. But usually it was played after knight f3. So now black just has some kind of terrible Zemish. I mean, he's playing Zemish with tempo down and not the greatest move bishop d7. So that's just completely terrible.
But actually, Sasha, do you remember how was the game before? Because here after d4, knight f6, c4, d6, even knight c3. That did Daniel play some knight f3 before in that game?
It was always knight f3, g6, knight c3, bishop f5. Like
yeah, thank you, because that's exactly what I wanted to know.
Always e3, bishop g7, bishop d3. And then it was one time bishop g4 and one time bishop c8. For yesterday's game, I think Sergei prepared this improvement, bishop c8.
Sorry, can you just repeat that so I can have that on the board? So after bishop f5?
I think it was e3, bishop g7, bishop d3. And in the first must-win game, Sergei played bishop g4. I know, or actually... In
exactly,
one of the games,
yeah, exactly. He improved with bishop g4.
And first time he played bishop c8.
Yes.
Which is an interesting idea because if now let's say white goes e4, castle, bishop e2, you transpose to just main King's Indian, which black was trying to avoid basically.
Yeah.
Well, none of that today because we had knight c3 instead of knight f3 and going for the Samish setup, but black does not bring the bishop to g7. Instead, let me just update the game. So we left it around
in fact, I can't recall seeing third move bishop f5 after knight c3 at all, because it seems like after f3, black is just doomed.
Yeah.
So the point is that you go bishop f5 once white has committed knight f3 so that white doesn't win this tempo like f3, e4.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, you need to make some not super comfortable move in order to push e4. It's either knight g5, knight h4, or something like that, or go in e3, bishop d3. But here it's just white making normal moves. And so now knight h5. I guess white can go queen d2. Okay, he can even maybe go g4 immediately, but he can also go queen d2. And then I guess Sergei will play h6 and white can play g4, bishop h4 check, king d1, forcing knight f6, and so on.
Yeah, this is looking just horrible for black.
Yeah.
Okay, but at least here he's getting some kind of dark squares play, like knight g3, knight h7. Well, I mean, I think h6 is the only way to continue.
Why do you say that, Alexander? What's the point of h6 here?
No, to prepare bishop g5.
Right. So you want to trade off these bishops.
Yeah, okay, but I mean, black's position is terrible.
Yeah, I mean, white has so many different ways to. I even wonder if after h6 is g3 an idea to meet bishop g5 with f4 and then ef4, gf4. Can we just have a look? Yeah, h6, g3,
G3.
g3. Yeah, bishop g5, f4, e takes f4, g takes f4, bishop h4 check, and just king d1. I understand it's a little bit risky, but I have such a lovely center and my king gets to c2, bishop to g2, that I might have a wonderful position.
No, I think it's like +2 or something like this.
8-6 on the board, so the idea is to go bishop g5 next.
Okay, basically, I think here the only important thing for white is just to play quickly. I mean, the only chance to lose is to get 2 seconds, basically. Because anything is good. I mean, also, like, even if you allow this trade of dark squared bishops, okay, still white is clearly better. So,
I mean, when you're in a must-win situation, this is a nightmare of a position to get, no?
Yeah, but on the other hand, when you are black and you have to win, you don't know what to do. So Sergei voluntarily went for this position in order to try to get some chances out of a bad position. Yeah. But of course, yeah, this is exactly what you don't want to do usually. That's why you have to be in such a terrible situation in order to make such a choice.
Long castle, and also in the way the last round ended for Sergei, it's very hard to come out of that as well, no? But from a completely winning position to have lost that game out, a big opportunity for Sergei.
No, but Sergei is a very big fighter, very big fighter. I think he won, maybe he won the most must-win games in history of chess. Because, I don't know, there was so many matches in which he was down, and then he equalized the score. I mean, once he even equalized from being down 0-2 in the World Cup final.
Yeah. I was just thinking about that. I think that was just such an enormously big comeback it was the finals, right, of the World Cup in 2015?
Yeah.
And Peter Swidler leading with a 2-point margin, and eventually actually lost that match after a marathon of a match that was with Sergei. Big comeback in that. So bishop g5, g3 now, but this is slightly better version than what both of you were discussing, because now black has at least managed to trade off the dark squared bishop.
Yeah, black has changed.
I was saying that even this is clearly worse for him. But
exactly. I mean, now black exchanges the bishop, but on the other hand, Daniel wants to make sure that he's totally safe. Yeah, there are no fooling around with the white king. He just castled and he says, okay, actually draw perfectly suits me, so I don't want to refute your setup. Just let me have a very nice stable position and I will slowly improve. In worst case scenario or best case scenario for black, he might hold the position, and so what?
But I don't know. I mean, I think white wants to play g4 now, because now I think it's not so easy to have completely safe position with white, because black can play knight a6, then maybe knight c7. He wants maybe some b5 or even a6 and b5. So it's not so easy to just do nothing with white. So I guess knight a6 will be met by g4. Knight f6 and just knight g3, h4, and so on.
So then black will also continue to create some play on the queen side.
Yeah, but black now will be too slow, because, I mean, it's hard to get a lot of counterplay with your king in the center, and if you castle king side, it's like castling into mating attack. So I don't know, maybe it even makes some sense to force f4 provoke f4 with some queen g5. I don't know. Okay, so Sergei goes a6. So now I think white will just, now the problem is black knight is a little bit in funny situation on b8. So let's say g4, knight f6, knight g3, b5, and just h4. And okay, what to do? How to develop your attack?
Yeah, it's looking quite bad, and maybe it's a good moment to switch back to the Ding game because things have heated up there.
Yeah, and I will take short break.
All right, hopefully we'll have Alexander back when things get more exciting. So bishop b3 on the board.
Yes. Now, can we just go back a couple of moves to understand who has sacrificed, or with which move did White sacrifice the pawn on d4? Okay,
so we
all
left
this
it
we
around
know.
here, Peter.
No, this we still have seen.
Yes.
So Black played rook a8 and rook f8, and from here on we have and he played bishop b2 finally.
And Black finally also traded in the center, sacrificing a pawn.
Yeah,
So,
but here lot of very precise calculation were needed, and the fact that Ding captured this pawn on d4, I think, was based on this bishop b3 idea, because hitting White's rooks and claiming that your back rank is very, very loose. That's what Ding having in mind here.
I have to say that White has sacrificed this pawn and does have these two bishops, but I kind of like Black's position here. I don't see any direct way of White creating an initiative. And like you said, Black will always create threats along the back rank. Looks like things are under control, no?
Yeah, and that's why let's just go back one move, and then we see the impact of this bishop e6 to b3, because it looked like White with his last move, rook bd1, puts pressure on the d4 knight, and thanks to this bishop a6, bishop a7 check ideas, he forces this knight to move. But instead of moving this knight or defending this knight, which would give White some additional options, Ding counters this threat with bishop b3.
So just to demonstrate, this was a threat in the position, and White wins the rook with this discovered check.
Yes.
And instead of going back with the knight and instead of returning with the knight and giving White play along this diagonal, Black played the counter-offensive bishop b3, putting pressure on d1, and now White just doesn't have time to take on d4 because the rook hangs.
Yeah, and how much White is not happy with all this development. Look at the clock. White is down to 4 minutes on the clock. It clearly indicates that something went wrong. He must have missed this bishop b3 intermediate move.
And rook c1 attacking the queen. This makes sense.
Yeah, but after rook takes e1 check, you are kind of forced to move your rook, and then Black again has extra move to deal with the situation.
Yeah, the knight is still on d4. I do like Black's position here, and given the match situation, it's 1.5 for Ding. So he's one game up right. It's one each. Yu Yangi managed to make a comeback in the last round, so it's an important.
No, Yu is leading. Yu is leading because the first game was this draw.
The plot.
Yeah,
Oh.
Yu is leading.
That is right.
Yeah, because he just won with the black pieces. That's why it was so shocking, yeah, that the Ding collapsed with the white pieces.
All right, I'm totally losing the plot here. Wait, let me just... so Yu won. Right, so Yu is actually leading with a 1-point lead right now, isn't it?
Exactly. That's why we were telling with Alexander that it was completely insane from our point of view that you went on to play such a sharp and double-edged line, because there was just no reason to do so.
Right, because Ding needs to complicate things and rook c1, and then that means that this is exactly the kind of position that Ding actually wants to keep his chances alive. And now attacking the queen, and I'm looking at how should Black react to a move like rook c1. Like you mentioned, there's rook e1, but does he really need to trade right now?
Yeah, that's the question. I mean, do you have a good square for the queen? Because otherwise I will take on e8, and I'm not sure if you are so happy with this. You have to keep an eye on your d4 knight.
Right, so while Ding takes a look at this and decides whether he wants to go with a move like queen f4 or trade on e1 perhaps, because of course if he moves the queen anywhere else, there's always this threat of losing the d4 knight. There is some exciting stuff that's happened in the other game. Peter, let's take a look at that because I'm looking at the board and this looks insane.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like what had happened. I think Alexander was making a point that maybe black has to kind of provoke white to this f4, and did this really happen?
So let's take a look. Yeah, in fact, white did go f4 after a6, as Alexander pointed out. And
Yeah,
knight f6,
h3.
and then he went h3. Queen e7, consolidating the center. Knight g1, very interesting move. So the idea is that he wants to reroute the knight to f3.
Yeah, exactly. And the point is that black is simply not able to keep his structure together. So he will, one way or another, be forced to recapture with the d pawn, because queen e5 runs into knight f3 and the position collapses. And this basically shows us that black is forced to give up the pawn.
And d6 and just takes on c5.
Yeah, queen e6, queen c5 castle. So black claims that, okay, at least I castled and I want to get counterplay, but where is this counterplay? Knight f3, knight c6 played.
I don't know. I think white needs to be precise here because rook fc8 is coming, and then.
Yeah, of course. And it's very nice to have you back, Alexander.
Okay, so what? Queen e3. Now, if bc4, what is white's plan?
Knight a4. Can I play knight a4?
Knight a4.
Then knight c5. I mean, knight d4. Yeah, you have counter idea.
I don't know. Yes.
Yeah, so knight a4 runs maybe into this knight d4. This is very important.
Knight c5,
resource.
you just take on d6. Yeah.
So maybe bc4, he wants knight d5. So,
But can you... So the point is that now you've got knight b6.
yeah, I guess knight b6. And
Also knight f6, no? And then the bishop on d7 is hanging.
yes.
Even better. So knight d5 is interesting because black can't recapture because that leads to a fork.
So maybe c3 is forced because knight c7 just wants to trap the queen. Not even...
Ooh.
But also just to trap.
So c3 here.
Not just to be able to play queen take a2, but it looks very bad. But
Yeah, knight d5 on the board.
Knight d5 played.
no, actually, I during the break I looked at some chess bomb, and instead of knight c6, there was move bishop c6 for black, and it was. I mean, white is still better, but it was getting kind of unclear. And even better one move earlier, even without before castle bishop c6 was even better.
So what's the point?
The point is, okay, first of all, black attacks e4, and he prepares some knight fd7 if necessary. I mean, depends which move white makes. And actually, black would be close to getting some real compensation.
Yeah, but bishop c6 is quite a counterintuitive move to make because you really want to develop your knight to c6 in these positions. But after that, as you pointed out, now knight d5, things look quite difficult for black, no?
Okay, so let's try c3 because I think everything else is... I don't see any other move.
So the point is that white is actually... Let me just first... okay, so c3 here. Because white had the
guy played rook ac8.
Yeah, so he just gives an exchange, but...
Wow. So the idea of knight d5 was knight c7 trapping the queen and rook c8. The point is that after knight c7, he probably wants to take and go c3 maybe?
Maybe, but c3...
Or rook c8 perhaps.
Yeah, but... maybe there is some I don't know. It just depends on the next few moves, because if black manages to take this pawn on c7 and protect on c4, then he will have some compensation, but it just doesn't seem likely to me.
White
Also
should probably go knight. Sorry, go
Also
on,
the
Peter.
question, sorry, that maybe white doesn't have to hurry with knight c7 because black is still not threatening with anything.
Yeah, but maybe now I really want to play c3. Let's say after rook h2, maybe I will play c3.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, probably okay, because I cannot play king b1 because then let's just show that black can take on d5. That's the moment when if white goes king b1, black can take on d5, and after ed5, white has a check. I mean, black has a check.
I thought you could also just take on d6.
Yeah, but I mean, also you have a check, so it just doesn't make any sense.
Right, so king b1 is not going to help.
Yeah, and Daniel went for knight c7.
Picking up the exchange.
And rook c8 blitzed out.
Yeah, you want to pick up the c-pawn if you can. And probably for queen b6, you're going to pick up the e4 pawn?
Yeah, I wouldn't want to give this e4 pawn because it, opens all the gates.
I think
Right.
very important model variation is that after rook c8, if white plays now rook h2, then he's just not in time to play it after rook takes c7, rook c2 because of knight b4. Because otherwise this rook h2, rook c2 would make a lot of sense, but it runs into this knight b4.
Okay, let's see. I mean, it's now very important. If white does not find anything great, then maybe black will have some chance in this game.
So you're actually saying that white needs to find something. I mean, just this having this extra exchange, black is able to create initiative if white doesn't, white can't just sit on this extra exchange right now. He does need to create something.
Okay, he has some weaknesses. His king is weak, and he will have just an exchange for a pawn, which is not a huge material advantage. So no, I would say white needs to take control of this concretely somehow.
It looks like white is probably going to lose either the c7 or the e4 pawn, right? You can't anyway defend both.
Yeah, that's for sure. I mean, white's problem is that in these structures, it would be very nice to have something on c3. Imagine a white knight on c3 or a bishop on c3 would give so much stability for the position. But since we are not having this automatically gives us the feeling that, okay, black got more than enough counterplay. I mean, from this opening, I would have never even dreamed of that black will get so much counterplay, to be honest.
Yeah, unless white managed to get some, like rook c1, maybe. Okay, so he goes king b1 and rook h2.
Yeah.
So let's see. Okay, that makes sense. Now, I guess white wants to play rook c2, knight b4, rook c3, maybe.
I'm going to quickly take you guys to the other game because there is some situation which looks like should be completely winning for black. Looks like good news for black, no?
Definitely.
Yeah, this is just completely winning.
Okay, let's just quickly go through how it got here because around this time, Alexander, when you had left us, this was the situation and it looked like possibly white could create something, but very quickly things fell apart.
No, he just blundered this idea.
Yeah,
this rook d5 Zwischenzug, yeah, the intermediate move again.
Yep, very nice rook d5 here. And after queen h4 just picks up. So the point is that right now you cannot pick up the bishop because the square on e2 is controlled by, and now knight e2 it's controlled, but a really nice rook d5, moving the queen from the control of the e2 square. And now after queen h4, because there's absolutely no other square on this entire diagonal where white could have retreated, just coming up way ahead on material, Liren.
Yeah, so basically now, okay, I cannot imagine black not winning it.
Mm.
So basically, the score will be tied in this match. Okay, I really like here maybe with black to play just bishop f5, bishop d3, bishop b5, bishop c6.
Wait.
To then play like f6, and then play knight c4,
So,
take on a5, and so on. Okay,
this
so
is how black's going to win this
he
position.
goes for completely different idea. He just wants to checkmate white. Okay, so he just exchanges b7 for a5. Yeah, no, this is also completely.
Yeah, in fact, now with this construction, pawn on h4, knight on f5, white has nothing. I would argue that it's just time to design now.
Yeah.
Also, probably after queen, yeah, you just want to take on a5. I was just wondering if black could try to actually go with this idea, Alexander, that you mentioned of trying to mate on
Maybe
h1.
also. No, okay, it's game over.
Yeah,
I mean,
Game
I
over.
think-
All right. So queen b4 played. We'll keep
White
an eye out on the
cannot even
result.
give a single check. Yeah, that's the real problem for white, that he even cannot give one single check to black king.
Yeah, also black can play g6, and then there are just no checks at all. All checks will be with the queen sacrifice.
Which will not be much of a sacrifice because it will probably be game over after that. All right, let's go back to Dubov's game because it looks like Ding Liren will be evening the score. Will even out the score in that match. What's going on here?
Yeah, very
Okay,
interesting.
again, it's very concrete. I mean, black is on the way to creating real counterplay, but you know, when looking at such positions with computers, there is usually some very precise way for white to get a big advantage. So let's see. Maybe white should play like knight d2 because I think white needs to prevent black knights black knight to get into c4. So maybe knight d2, but then black maybe can take on h3. I don't know. Knight
You
d2,
mean after taking on f1?
Yeah, take f1. Maybe he cannot because there is queen b6.
Oh, nice.
I don't know. Queen b6, knight take e4, knight take e4.
Is there knight c4 here, or is this?
Knight c4. Yes. Okay, so then let's see. I don't know. Okay, knight d2 is played.
Knight d2 on the board. So the point was that black was probably threatening to go knight c4, so knight d2 controlling the c4 square. Now we're looking at this line with bishop f1. Possibly you can still take knight f1 as well, but then that runs into knight c4.
No, he's not going to take.
He's not going to allow that because knight c4 would be very, very difficult. So what happens after this position?
Queen take h3. So now if rook c1, maybe just knight. Yeah, maybe just rook c1, and if knight c4, take, and rook b4. And okay, black does have some compensation, but white king is getting safe, and c pawn will maybe roll. So I guess white objectively is not in any danger.
But I have to say that the way the opening started and just our outlook towards the position, Sergey has managed to create imbalance in it, and it's still game on. In a must-win situation, he's managed to do what you want to aim for, playing for the initiative. Rook f1 on the board.
He keeps the tension. That's one of the most important things. We have already seen that Daniel Dubov has played some amazing chess, but when it was about dealing with the tension, he had some problems. So in this sense, this is very much the only chance Sergey has, yeah?
Yeah, we're probably not going to move from this, but just an update that the Yu Yangi Ding Liren game is still on. Not much has changed. Just a quick look at the position. Looks really bad. Black is probably just coming in knight g3, and I don't even know. You probably have to put pressure on h4 to fight against this. White's gone queen c3, but just...
Okay, I think this game is, I don't know. I don't even want to look at this.
Yes. We don't want to...
Beating down a child.
Looks like, yeah, looks like a disaster. We don't want to risk losing you, Alexander. So let's just quickly go to the Karjakin Dubov game. As we have noticed, when things disgust you on the broadcast, you do tend to leave.
Okay, it was once only. So, okay, so Karjakin doesn't even take on h3, but now maybe he doesn't allow white to get this kind of rook b4, because rook b4 is now maybe met with taking and playing queen c4 and collecting the b4 pawn. I mean, it's still not that great for him, even rook e1 here, yeah. Just take rook king a1. I mean, black has no pieces for a real attack.
Yeah, this looks like quite a pragmatic choice, no, to just trade off this rook and just make, because it's really hard to imagine black's knight getting into the game, and all Dubov needs is a draw to go through. And after rook c4, really, you have to also defend the e4 pawn.
Yeah, that is also the point that, I mean, after all, look at the position. I feel that in a rapid game and with clocks ticking down, black has very nice practical chances. So I don't care about any objective evaluation. I just want to look at that. Yeah, black is very much alive, and also let's not forget what is at stake. Yeah, I mean, the players are not only reaching the semifinals by qualifying from here, but they automatically qualify to the next leg of the Magnus Tour, which is a huge step forward in order to try to qualify for the finals. Yeah, as far as I understand. So really lot of tension. Let's see how Daniel will cope with this, because that chess-wise he has done perfectly great in this tournament, that he has proven. But are his nerves good enough now?
Yeah, indeed, lots at stake. Prize money, huge prize money, bragging rights, ego, pride, and of course the qualification to the next event, which means more prize money.
Yeah, now I was thinking, is there some line like queen c6 and for example some rook takes f6? Can white try to force black giving perpetual, or that will backfire? I mean, g takes f6, rook b8 check, king g7, queen d8, queen e4 check, and white seems to be mating, but it seems that black is maybe winning or not, or is white winning? King b2.
I don't see a win for white here. For black
Yeah, but
here, sorry.
but draw is a win for white. Yeah, I mean, if I force you to
I mean,
give
I don't see
perpetual,
how black can actually make use of the checks. It just looks like he has to give a perpetual anyway.
yeah, but even yeah, there is maybe
perpetual?
even no perpetual. Yeah.
So queen e2, just king b3.
Yeah. So what I want to say, that black has to pay attention to this rook takes f6 idea once white has played queen d3.
That's a very nice line.
Yeah.
So the point is just to get.
So I guess if knight take e4, then white has check and rook b4. Yeah, rook b8, rook b4. That's his idea, I guess.
Yeah, looks very strong, but then do you have to take and go f5 or what?
Yeah, but then g4, okay, right. That's fine. Have to play g6, but then your king is so weak, just rook c1.
Yeah, this queen d3 looks like a very nice practical move from Daniel Dubov.
Yeah, looks like a very strong move anyway.
Okay, if let's say I play rook c8.
What is white doing?
But okay, it's already a big concession, yeah?
Yeah, yes and no, because also now there is no, I mean, I don't have to deal with all this rook before, and now I want to take on h3. I protected the 8th rank, and let's say you play g4, maybe I can go queen c6 to attack e4. Maybe rook e1 here, yeah.
Yeah. Yes, and Sergei goes rook a4, yeah, because okay, in a must-win situation, also retreating the rook is it's very hard psychologically.
It's very hard. Yeah. So the point is that now you don't have rook b8, d8 because of the attack on the a2 square, and black maintains pressure on e4.
Yeah, it also avoided rook f6 and avoided rook b4.
Avoiding
maybe
rook b4.
c4, but maybe c4. And if you take on c4 with a rook, then I can play rook f6, gf6, queen d8. Now, yeah, it's important to start with queen d8 because if rook b8, there is rook c8. So queen d8 and rook b8. And I think that's probably
no
winning.
check.
Yeah, so c4 maybe forces queen takes c4, and I don't know how.
That's not good. That's not good news for black. But Dubov goes for queen c2 instead, putting pressure on the rook on a4, which I also like.
And after knight takes e4, what is happening?
Maybe again check and rook b4.
Or rook takes e4 is also possible or not. No, rook takes e4 runs into rook b8 and then rook f6. Right?
But queen c2. Now, can black play queen take h3?
Also knight e4 in the queen h3.
This then check. Maybe queen take h3. What?
Right. So the point is to show that to everybody. Rook b8, king h7,
and then rook b4.
And rook b4.
That's
and
what
the
Alexander
pin is a disaster.
Mind, yeah.
So instead, after queen c2, there's queen h3.
Yeah, I just wonder because if rook f6, there is queen h1 check, which was probably
very
missed
nice.
by both of them.
Very nice.
Ah, but maybe there was rook b8 check first. Rook b8 check and then rook f6. Yeah. So
yeah,
queen take h3. So queen c4 may be a great move by Sergei because now let's say you play rook e1 just for the.
None of this happened because instead here he went queen c4.
So just imagine if rook e1, then knight e4, and because black has played queen c4, now rook b8, rook b4 is not an option anymore because black just takes on b4. So, okay, so let's see. They're both down to 1.5 minutes, so maybe there will be some drama. Let's see. Come on, knight take e4.
Yeah, I feel like this is already dramatic. I don't know if it will be final drama, but it's
knight
dramatic
e4 on
enough.
The board. Knight e4 on the board.
Okay, let's see.
So now c3 pawn is attacked. So like you pointed out, rook b8, rook b4 is not an option because this rook on e1 hangs in the end. How is white?
Yeah, you have some moves like rook b3 is a stabilizer. The question is, would you include rook b8 check? Most probably you would. Rook b8
I don't know. For me,
king
a1 is the most natural move because you really want to get from the checks from this knight. No, king a1 looks logical. But
you mean directly?
Maybe just g6 to get the g7 square, so you don't have to worry about this back rank checkmate and some pins. So yeah, maybe it's okay. Let's see.
King a1 is nice.
If he wins this game, it will be amazing finish in the game 4.
Yeah, and then he is down to 45 seconds.
Okay, so he goes king a1
wow, he went for king a1.
So I'm okay, g6 or maybe even g5, just to for the end game, yeah, because
I think if it's the g pawn, it's the one-step move for Sergei. We've seen a pattern here.
Yeah.
And Sergei having a thing. So the point is that you can't really take on c3 with the knight because rook b8, back rank issues, the 8-7 square is not available. And for queen c3, you just want to
trade
off.
And take on e5.
And this looks like bad news as well for black. And G6 on the board.
Yeah, G6 on the board.
Okay, white is again running down on time. So let's see. Queen B3. Queen B3. So what is this?
Very important that after Queen C6, I have Queen B8 check, collecting the E5 pawn and centralizing the queen. This is huge.
It's a good move, Queen B3.
So maybe black will have to go for some endgame.
So can black just take on G3 and you anyway grab on E5, right?
But look at Queen C6
Queen
happened.
C6
Did he blunder or did he not have a choice?
Queen B8 on the board. Just
Okay, judging by him starting to think after Queen B8, he blundered.
Yeah. Yeah, and this is a huge blunder.
Yeah. Now also his king becomes weak again because now there is Rook B8 and so. Now he needs some miracle because now Rook C1, I guess.
So Rook B8 not possible because of the A2
Rook
threat.
C1, there is Knight A2 and black wins.
Oh, that is a beautiful line. So
Yeah,
Rook
that is
C6
incredible.
and Knight C3. This is just absolutely stunning. I love it.
Aha,
So
but
Rook C, of
Rook
course
C-
he sees it. Rook C2 played. So after Knight C3, no Rook C1, Rook C2.
But now Queen C4?
Queen C3, Rook A2, King B1.
Ah, yes. Okay.
No, maybe black. If black could, the problem is Rook take A2. If white cannot take twice because of Queen A4 check and but E1 is protected. I thought Queen A4, Queen B4 check, but E1 is protected. Yeah,
think
Sergey, down to 10 seconds.
yeah, but he has no move. Maybe Rook A3 is the last chance. Yeah,
Rook A3 played.
He played with
but
1 second
now
on the
it's
clock.
Now
This is
some
very
Queen
exciting.
D4 maybe.
So Queen C4 is a threat. So Queen D4 just against that is an idea. And Queen E7 played,
maybe
attacking the
Queen
Rook on A3.
Yeah, and now white is just winning.
Yeah. That's it. Sergey resigned because nothing to do. Wow, so that's a 3-0 victory for Dubov for the second time in that mini match. And as we can see, we have Daniel Dubov going through in his match against Sergey Karjakin in killing fashion.
Yeah, it was a
With a 2-1
thrilling.
victory.
It was a thrilling battle by these giants. Yeah, it was a fantastic match.
Actually, the Rapid was won 8-2 by Dubov because he won 2 matches 3-0,
Yes.
and yesterday Rapid was 2-2, so it's 8-2.
That's quite crushing.
Yeah, okay, so I guess I will take a short break and be back.
Yes, and what is the situation, Peter?
Well, I mean, Ding has won his game, so we will see that the 4th game between Ding and you probably starting soon.
Do we have time for a short break before we return for the final game between Ding and you? Yes, we do. So we have a confirmation that we can take a quick break. The players are going to be back. A super important round to decide who is the last Chinese standing in this event going through to the semi-finals. We'll be back shortly. See you in a bit.
Chess is simple. You just make the right moves.
It's time to take control of your journey towards chess mastery. Magnus Carlsen introduces Chessable, the definitive solution for studying chess. Move Trainer uses the science of spaced repetition to identify your strengths and eliminate your weaknesses. There's no need to set up a board, remember which page you're on, or keep track of all the moves you miss. Move Trainer empowers you to go from the opening to the end game with confidence. It's a seamless, effective, and fun way to study chess. Choose from one of the largest online chess libraries in the world, with hundreds of titles ranging from classic books through to our exclusive Chessable courses, including over 100 free courses. Get expert insights from International Master John Bartholomew, Grandmaster Sam Shankland, International Master Christoph Sulecki, Grandmaster Simon Williams, World Champion Magnus Carlsen, and hundreds of other instructors. Get started now and join our growing community of over 100,000 chess enthusiasts at chessable.com. Chessable, take control of your journey towards chess mastery.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Lindores Abbey Rapid Challenge. What a day we've had. We are about to kick off the final game between Ding Liren and Yu Yanggi, a very important match to decide who goes through the semifinals. But before that, we do have our semifinalist of the day making it through in crushing style, Daniel Dubov. Daniel, congratulations on that win.
Thanks.
How did the day go for you? I mean, 3-0 could not have been more of a dream performance.
Well, but I was lucky, actually. I was sort of disappointed after yesterday. I thought, I mean, I was obviously disappointed. I think even yesterday I basically played much better. And then, like, in the fourth game, it's not that I even blundered. I mean, okay, it is a blunder, but I actually thought that basically he simply repeated the moves. So I didn't even start thinking, and I played, exactly the same moves that I played after Queen f6. And then I realized his queen is on e5. He took on e3 and won.
You will have to slow down because I need to get that position up on the board. So at what moment would you like to go back?
No, but I'm talking about yesterday, basically.
Okay, yesterday's game.
So yeah, and then in the Armageddon, I was also winning. So I mean, obviously I was disappointed, but still, I mean, I won some of the games with black, like in 12 moves. So I mean, basically, yeah, obviously, yeah, it was very disappointing to lose such a match, but still, I thought if you win sometimes in 12 moves, you're probably capable of winning one more match. Today, I don't know. The first game, I did not really get what he wanted, actually, because this G4 and everything, I mean, okay, this is not mainstream, but it was played by many strong players. I think it was played in Grischuk, Caruana, maybe, and I have played it myself even. So I don't know what he wanted exactly, but yeah, in general, I thought this G4 is a very, very promising line for white. And then he started to think, which probably means he was out of the book. And then, yeah, I mean, I don't know, they could have missed it during their prep, or I don't know. But anyway, I think after DC Rook G1, it should be bad, pretty much. And then I don't know if I played well, but yeah, I mean, it felt extremely dangerous for black.
It looked very convincing to us, Daniel. And in this very last moment, did you spot Queen H2 instantly? Because it looked like black had maybe stabilized and white needed to sort of find a way to mate, which you did with Queen H2, because Queen H5 doesn't work in that position.
Yeah, but that's why you play Rook H4. That was my idea. So basically, you keep an option of setting this battery different way. But what I actually didn't get is why he resigned, to be honest. Because in the final position, I thought he can play Rook F6, no?
So you mean after Queen H2, this is
where...
I
mean you go Rook F6.
So
yeah, king f7. I
well,
mean,
we
okay,
just kind of left it here thinking that you just trade the rooks and at least pick up a rook, but
yeah, but I mean, okay, if you're Karjakin, you try to hold the fortress forever, and actually here it even makes sense. I'm not even sure. Like, it's definitely, for me, it's definitely not a position where you resign. I mean, okay, you take on f6 with the pawn, you put your pieces like, I don't know, maybe bishop c6, knight d5, or you try knight d5, f4, I don't know, because here
yeah, but probably he must have missed that after queen c7 check he has knight e7, right?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah,
because
maybe,
actually, to be honest, I missed it because since Sergei resigned, I assumed that that's it. Yeah, it's the logical outcome. And now
yeah, sure, but that's actually why I was that's why I spent some time before this rook h4 and queen h2, because I mean I saw this idea and I thought, okay, in a rapid, like most probably you will end up losing as black. Yeah, I mean you run out of time and I mean you will lose. But yeah, I mean it was not obvious to me at all. So then the second game, it was actually a very weird game. I decided that basically, yeah, if it's our last match, then it's probably time to play something reasonable, yeah, because I have played one e4 knight c6 and I played the Scandinavian, so I decided, okay, let's go Philidor. so like out of my options, Philidor is the most solid one. So you play Philidor when sort of you need to be safe, and you play all the rest when you just have fun. He played this queen takes d4 and bishop d5, queen d3, which I looked at, obviously, and this, yeah, I remember this knight b4, and then queen b3, d5. Yeah.
So knight b4 here, he took on d7.
Yeah.
And then queen b3, d5.
Yeah, and he went a3, takes. And then he somehow confused me. He played this a, b, e, f castles. And basically, I don't think it makes any, like, real sense. I can play, like, pretty much any move, maybe bishop d6 or something. I mean, maybe I'm slightly worse, maybe not, but it's definitely not the end of the world, for sure.
But there was a point where it looked like it was the end of the world for you in this game. I mean,
definitely, he simply blundered. Yeah, this is basically the only point of the match when I was lucky. But okay, I think, like, yesterday I missed, like, 10 opportunities to finish it, so I probably deserve to be lucky one time.
Actually, I have this question that my big question for today was, how did you manage to sleep after what happened yesterday to you?
Well, it was sort of okay. But the funniest thing is that here I normally wake up like 2 or 3 hours before the game. So it was sort of okay. I was like reading something till morning, then at like 9 a.m. I went to sleep and it was fine.
Daniel, are you finally back home or are you still at the hotel after the candidates?
Well, I'm still in the hotel, but it feels like my home now. So yeah, and this FG, like FG is not exactly forced, but I thought, okay, he's sort of trying to tease me for this FG, and to be honest, I didn't believe that it's like really dangerous for black. But then after rook a5, it became uncomfortable. I don't think black is really worse, to be honest. Maybe I'm wrong. I felt it should be okay, but in general, it's very difficult to play with a stupid rook on a shade.
Yeah,
and then I think he completely outplayed me pretty much. And I especially liked his move bishop d2, because takes, h6. I was very proud of this h6 idea, because my point was that if he plays bishop h4, which sort of feels natural, then I think I can take on h2 and go queen d4.
We were actually looking at this position, Daniel. Did you consider bishop h2 at this point?
Yeah, obviously, but then king takes.
And we were thinking of g1 or queen g4, but let's go with g1.
Yeah, let's say takes, queen g4. Yeah, queen g3.
And you didn't like this position?
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't sure. Like, I didn't feel... I mean, in general, I felt like I should be okay somehow, but I didn't see how exactly. Because here you never know, some rook a8 or something, or rook takes b7. Like, right. It can be okay for black, but it could also be just lost. I mean, some rook 8, queen e5 will come or something. So I was kind of happy. I was kind of happy about this h6, because I thought, okay, bishop d2 is not something I should be worried
And here
about.
you wanted to go for bishop h2.
Yeah, and you go queen d4 here, so that's the point.
Right, so you pick up the bishop.
Yeah, I mean, I pretty much like almost win probably. Because you cannot even take on b7, because then queen takes h4, king takes, and queen e4 check.
Right, so he has to go rook 8 anyway. So that's a nice line though. So here you just pick it up, and after taking on g2, you come back to e4 and pick up the rook on b7.
Or after queen f3, I take on c4, yeah, exactly.
Right.
So yeah, but then he played bishop d2, and I actually realized that I sort of underestimated it very much. And then somehow it just started to look bad, and I just started to play some random moves. So for instance, I played queen b5, sort of hoping for some knight takes d6, queen f1 mate. Which suddenly didn't work. But I mean, like I didn't see what to do anyway. I thought, why not to try it? Then I think I was completely lost. Then at some point he panicked.
Yeah.
This queen d3, bishop c3, b3 I liked very much. f6 was probably extremely stupid move, because now he gets all kinds of queen g6 ideas. Although, I mean, okay, it's easy to say f6 is stupid, but it's kind of difficult to play a move, yeah?
It looked very difficult, at least like we could not find any way for you to hold on to it. And then he seemed to be doing pretty well, like a slow move like b3 as well, and black can't really do anything.
Yeah, b3 was a very good move, because yeah, now he's threatening queen g6. But then after queen h5, I think he's sort of panicked, to be honest, because I didn't see like what exactly is wrong with queen d8, for instance.
That's what even Alexander was mentioning, that queen d8 looked extremely strong here, because then you don't have a move like knight d6 anymore.
Yeah, I would probably just play king h7, then I would play queen d1 check, I would take on c2, and I mean, okay, I'm obviously lost, but at least I'm trying.
You mean this position?
Yeah, I sort of have tricks, because if you take on g2, then queen g4 check is an option. And then I play queen f3 or h3 check and take on c3.
So if you take on c2 here?
Yeah, then I'm a piece down, but that's why you go queen g4 check.
Oh, right, okay, queen g4 here.
Yeah, and then you go queen f3 or h3 check, and then you take on c3. Maybe it's still lost, but okay, it's not obvious anymore. So after queen d1 check, you'll have to play something like queen e1, and then I'm forced to take on c2. And then, okay, I'm obviously lost, but at least I felt like, okay, I will play for like a few more moves.
Daniel, you know, I feel very, very stupid of saying that maybe we don't have enough time. It's so nice to listen to all these lines. Maybe let's just have some questions to you, yeah?
Sure.
What does it mean for you to reach the semifinals in this tournament?
Well, first of all, as far as I know, I think it basically means that I qualified for the next thing.
Exactly. That's exactly what I wanted to know, because
which is already inspiring, obviously, because with this COVID we don't have like many things to do, so it's obviously playing chess is,
and did you feel any extra pressure because of that?
Not really. Well, I thought in general in the chaos stage it's sort of true that like two most important stages are the final and the quarterfinal. So basically, when you play the quarterfinal, you sort of play for the qualification for the next thing. And then when you play the final, you sort of play for qualification to this Big Four tournament. And then when you play the semifinal, you basically only play for money, which is not that important. So yeah, I mean, obviously, but I sort of felt more pressure just because of the fact that it's Karjakin and he's my compatriot, and I mean, all the stuff, yeah? I mean, it's obviously always, always tough matches against him. So I did not really think about qualifying or something. I just wanted to beat the guy, to be honest, and that's it.
But also, Daniel, it wasn't a very easy road for you to make it to the quarterfinals. Things were quite uncertain, even in the round robin phase for you. So after that, it seems like you've sort of found your form, and you've been doing really well ever since then, because the qualification stage was...
I don't know. I have a different explanation. I mean, I normally do badly, like really, really badly against the Chinese. So my main problem was just that on day one of the round robin, I played 3 Chinese, and then I scored like -2. So then that was basically the last time when I had to play the Chinese. So then I started to get some points. I mean, okay, I even won against Magnus. Magnus is obviously brilliant, but I mean, at least against him, sometimes I have chances, but I lose all the games against the Chinese. And now it feels like I'll have to play the Chinese again. Yeah, so I'm sort of pessimistic. It feels like it was a very nice adventure, but yeah, that's how.
Exactly. That's what I wanted to ask you. Then, how do you feel about this match?
No, for sure, I'm not excited. Definitely not. Yeah.
But it's probably good news that they are killing each other as well. Yeah. So by the time they reach you, they must have also lost so much energy.
But I don't think they really care, to be honest. That's the problem. Like in general, like all the things I'm doing are sort of provocative. Yeah, I mean, you play the Scandinavian, you play like 1e4, knight c6, you play Fyodor. So you basically say, okay, I can play like this, and still it won't be easy for you. But I don't think guys like Dink or you will even think about it this way. Like, okay, this guy played e5, d6. Now I'm slightly better. Okay, we go on. They just don't think about this psychological stuff, and I also blunder against them very often. Because even in the Stanis Memorial, where I finished second right after Magnus, even there I managed to lose 2-0 against Bull. So
yeah, I remember I was covering that tournament, and I felt like Bu was making the difference in the tournament standings between you and Magnus.
No, I mean, okay, Magnus just played better on the last day, I mean, anyway, but just in general, I mean, it's quite difficult to compete when you lose against all the Chinese, yeah. So we will sort of try to adjust our strategy for, so I guess it's tomorrow, yeah? We should start tomorrow, probably.
The semis, yeah.
Yeah, so I probably play on day one.
Yes,
yeah. Okay. So yeah, I mean, we'll try to adjust our strategy and think on how we could like do something to get at least some points. But like now, I'm sort of happy about what happened today, but really pessimistic about what's going to happen in a few days.
Would you rather play Magnus in a semifinal or one of the Chinese in the semifinals?
I would rather play any other guy, and like obviously, I would definitely pick up Magnus. I mean, it would be just great. I mean, it's not that no. I mean, obviously, he's the strongest. But what I like about this format is that basically, like, if you get to play Magnus in the quarterfinal of some like random thing like World Cup, so it's basically a very tough pairing. But here we play a lot of games, and it's first of all it means experience. So I was very happy to play him 3 times last week in this Stanis Memorial and in the round robin here. And obviously, I would be happy to play him again. I would probably lose, but I mean, anyway, it's an experience. And then when you play the Chinese, it doesn't feel like, I mean, it's sort of masochistic experience, you know? I mean, it's just they beat you and you go home.
Normally, we've got in a knockout format, you get one shot against your opponent, but here there are a series of 3 mini matches, which is not very common. How was the how do you feel about that particular bit about playing so many mini matches to qualify?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I like it a lot. Because from my perspective, I just like playing chess. I just like playing interesting games. So I mean, why not? Let's say even my match against Karjakin, yeah, I mean, basically, like yesterday, it was 1-1 pretty much. So he won the second match and he equalized. But after today, like in terms of the overall score, it's +6 for me.
Yeah, crushing victory. I think you scored, as Alexander pointed out, 8 out of 8-2 was the match score.
Yeah, probably, and still he managed to win one match. So I mean, obviously, like if you sort of believe in yourself or you just want to get an experience, you are happy about playing so many games, and that's definitely my case. I'm like okay with winning or losing, but I just like to play. I mean, okay, if you win or lose, you just want to do it convincingly. Yeah, so why not?
And now knowing that you will be playing one of the Chinese, any preference whether you want to play Ding or you in the semis?
I don't really care, to be honest. I feel it's like they're both capable of doing something bad to me.
And before we let you go, can we just have a look at this position and get your thoughts on it? Both are on 1.5, very crucial match. Do you see this going into an Armageddon? What is your evaluation of what's going on right now?
Well, I don't know. I'm pretty sure Dink will try to win it. I think Dink actually has more of this EU thinking than the other Chinese. So I think he sort of understands that he is dead in the Armageddon.
Yes.
It's quite obvious that he is so slow, like me, by the way, because I always play with touchpad. Yeah, I mean, okay, how can you compete with people if you play with touchpad? So when you have no increment, you are basically dead. So I'm pretty sure Dink will try to win it. Like if things will not go his way, yeah, I think at some point he'll start bluffing or something. Also now I actually don't see a single reason why he's better, to be honest.
And how's your experience been about playing this, not over the board, but online rapid? Like, what is the big difference for you between over the board rapid and online?
I actually don't see it, to be honest. Like, yeah, when I watched this Magnus Invitational, it was obvious that like there should be some difference. People play so badly and so on, and they sort of failed to adjust. And I was pretty sure it will be difficult for me. But yeah, somehow for me personally, I just don't feel like. Yeah, I don't feel like there is a very big difference. I think people normally started to play much faster than they normally do. And as for me, I think I even started to slow down a little bit. So I had much more time troubles in this tournament than I normally have in rapid games. But yeah, I mean, when you tend to think about the position, I mean, it shouldn't be a very bad sign, yeah? So
yeah.
For me, there is basically no difference. I'm kind of okay with it, and I feel like I sort of adapted.
And we had this talk with Hikaru the other day where we asked him, well, when you're playing over the board, you can sort of look up to your opponent and see what the expression of body language are. Is this something that you're concerned with when you're playing? Do you often go to the Zoom call and have a look at what your opponent's expression or body language, or is it just full focus on the board, on what's going on?
No, I obviously look at what's going on, but I think the Chess24 guys troll me, because normally what I see on my on the screen of my Zoom call is you or Dink. Which is, I mean, okay, which is extremely uninspiring and gives me like zero information, and it's just a reminder that, like, anyway, I will. Yeah,
you're going to meet your nightmare very soon.
Yeah, exactly. So let's look at the game probably.
Yeah. So knight c3 played on the board.
So what do you think, Peter?
Yeah, well, I mean,
Daniel, congratulations with victory.
Thanks.
And we are back to the decisive game. I think that Black's another opening experiment sort of went quite okay for him. He got quite solid position. One thing I don't completely agree is that I think Dink will not do the Topalov stunt in the last game against his match against Anand. I think, okay, if Armageddon, then Armageddon. I mean, okay, even let's say in the first Armageddon, okay, he was completely winning. I mean, he just lost because of lower mouse skills than his opponent.
Yeah, but that's why he could lose again. Yeah, I mean, that's a problem.
Yes, but I mean, okay, but it doesn't work every time. Okay, you have 5 seconds more and then you win. So it's, I think if it will go to a draw, he will not do some crazy stuff just to avoid it.
All right, so queen d3, g6 on the board.
Yeah, okay.
Now
I think I will leave you guys if you don't mind.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us, Daniel, and congratulations on your win in the quarterfinals match, and we'll see you in the semis.
Yeah, have a good rest and congrats, Daniel. Good luck.
All right, guys, back to the chess.
Yeah, I mean, let's not forget how we got here. Yeah, just 2 games before Liren lost with the white pieces. It looked like he's with his back to the walls, but then all of a sudden Yu Yanji gave him a chance to come back because that was really a well-played game from Ding, but there was just absolutely no reason for you to give that chance to Ding so easily. And now the pressure is on both players because this is the final game. Let's see how they will deal with the situation. It seems like Ding is he was at least very ambitious before the start because he deviated against the Queen's Gambit. Maybe can we just go back to move 3 already? Because the third move, e4, was something that Ding so far avoided in this match against you. So he kind of kept this e4 line, which already Jan was asking, why is Ding not an third move e4 player? But finally now in the decisive game, we see him opting for e4. The question is how comfortable he will feel in this type of structures.
Yeah, I think it's, the positions they got is a bit easier to play with black because again, it's just easier for white to blunder something. And black's position is, very compact. And even if it's worse, but it's just easier to avoid blunders.
Yeah, actually, that's exactly my point, that it looks like a very risky strategy from Ding that exactly in a decisive game with white, he goes for this third move e4 because so far during the match, he always managed to outplay Yu Yanji in any of this slow Queen's Gambit accepted stuff. But exactly now he felt the need to go all in. Is that all in, or does he think that, okay, anyway, in this position, I can just play chess and I don't care?
And
no,
perhaps that also...
you can play chess. It's not an all-in like all-in, but it's just that you can blunder something. This is the risky part. Other than that, I don't think it's particularly risky. But on the other hand, if you think you are going to blunder, then what is the point of playing at all, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
You have to believe in yourself.
Right. Just strategic-wise, I felt like it's a little bit strange, that if you are not a guy who are playing third move e4, then why in such a last decisive game you are changing the structure, because after all, it requires completely different mindset to play this position compared to the other type of Queen's Gambit accepted that he has played so well throughout this match.
Yeah, but he lost in game 1, in game 2 in Queen's Gambit accepted.
Yeah,
guys,
but
let's
with
move
this
forward
bishop
from our
g4,
discussion. Let's move forward from our discussion about third move e4 and take a look at what's happening. So fe3, is that a decision to capture the knight with the f pawn surprising, or is that a normal decision in this position to take with the pawn?
It's okay. You can take with either. You can take with a pawn. You can take with a piece. It's not a big deal either way.
Yeah, I think what Black wants to claim in this position that since he weakened with g6, he was very much worried that this bishop from e3 would maybe go to g5 and exchange the dark square bishops, and then he would have trouble there along the dark squares. And by taking on e3, yes, he gives white the chance of taking f takes e3. On the other hand, he removed all those threats from the position, and he tries to break immediately the queen side with a5, making use of the dark square bishop.
That's a very nice point, Peter, because actually queen d2, like you mentioned, was threatening bishop g5, and it was only Black's only opportunity to trade this off to keep the king side a little safer. And then he strikes on the queen side with a5, and we've had a couple more moves. So white went knight e2 in that position.
But now I think Black can just take and play f6 or f5. I think Black is absolutely fine.
So you mean take on a1? And go f5 here?
Let's say, okay, or immediately. Okay, he plays immediately.
Okay.
I think it's not a huge deal.
Yeah, Black is perfectly fine. And in fact, this is why, because of the structure, I mean, this whole third move e4 is connected with the position that we are seeing right now over the board. And this type of positions, because white went into this pawn structure, are automatically lot of risk is involved if you are not that familiar with the whole structure, and just playing without any concrete idea like Ding played this game, it feels like Black is very, very comfortable.
Black
Yeah,
looks
I think it objectively still should be quite equal. I think white maybe is not worse yet. Even, I don't know, knight c3 bad.
rook traded. I don't know. I feel like going into Armageddon, maybe it's just just an experience of how it went the first time. But the feeling is that you, Yangi, would probably be happier to go into Armageddon than Ding.
No, yes, but first of all, I think if you are an underdog, then of course you're always welcome in Armageddon.
Yeah, this is a very good point because better chances there because really anything can happen in an Armageddon with no increment on the clock.
Also, I think he's 2-0 against Ding in Armageddons. He beaten him in last year's Stavanger tournament. And he won Armageddon this time. So, of course. But now Ding found some interesting idea. So with queen c3, he protected the c4 square. So now he wants to go e4.
Yes, suddenly the black bishop on d5 is having trouble. And if you have to go b5 in order to save this bishop with bishop c4, then yeah, b5 had to be played.
Yeah, but now white can play even. Okay, so he goes for ambitious route. He goes bishop d3. I thought, I don't know, I mean, I'm maybe too pessimistic for white. I thought maybe just go knight f4 and then maybe to take on d5 and play e4 just to make a draw. And so he missed rook a2, I think. I think he missed it.
What is happening after e4? You just take on e4 or what is going on here?
Why not? Yes.
But then c... Okay, so this position, but white can also take on c6.
Okay, but it's a draw, I guess.
Yeah. No, bishop c6. Yeah, rook a2, a nice counter resource against b4 because bishop d3 was insisting on the threat. And rook a2 played.
Yeah, one also gets the feeling that it would be too much if black would have no chance with two bishops and open file to fight against this e3, e4. So in this sense, I feel that it's very logical that black had this rook a2 idea.
But probably, I mean, I don't know, does white have anything better to do than to go for this? Because otherwise it looks like if white doesn't play e4, black looks happy in this position, no?
Yeah, okay. I like the following line. e4, bishop e4. No, it doesn't work. Bishop e4, rook e2. I calculated such a beautiful line. Rook e2, queen takes c6, queen takes c6, bishop c6, rook b2, d5, e d5, rook d5, rook b4, rook b5, rook take b5, bishop take b5. But unfortunately, there is bishop take d4 check after queen takes c6.
Peter loves the line.
I love the line because it reminded me of some deep analysis by computer, but usually those deep analysis lines are perfect. Here, of course, we are not.
Long variation, wrong variation.
And the thing is, if white takes with a bishop on c6, then I don't know.
Sorry, just 1 second. So if white takes with the bishop,
I don't know. Then maybe there is something like queen c7 and queen f3. Yeah. So
luckily queen f3. Yeah.
Actually,
no, I mean,
when Alexander, you said that you calculated something brilliant, I was thinking that you want to go queen f3 after rook takes e2.
No, I'm just trying to make a forced draw. I don't know. Queen f3. Okay, so what is this?
I mean, but you can take bishop d4 check and then you move the rook, and I didn't see a follow-up. But for a second, when you said something brilliant, I thought that, wow, maybe queen f3 works for white.
But Ding, Liren not going for any of these positions with opposite color bishops and probably leading to an Armageddon, just wants to go rook f1. Rook f1 on the board.
No, but I think maybe he will go for it now. Yeah, that's what he does.
e4 played. So
But
e4,
now
which
maybe
means
there will be some queen of what will be about queen f3 now at the end?
so the point is that the f8 square is also under threat. This looks bad news for black, no?
I guess.
Don't see black being able to defend everything. So what's going on after e4 then?
Yeah, wow. I mean, black also played somehow very quickly this bishop g5.
Okay, so but if black starts with a check, so bishop
Yes.
s3,
King
h1.
h2 and king h1, and now takes on e4 perhaps?
Yeah.
And now because, so if you take on e4, there's also queen c5, but I don't know if it's...
No, there is always rook f2, even queen d3 is rook f2.
Or even queen f2, yeah.
So I don't know, maybe it will eventually be a draw, like, okay, bishop e3, king h1, take, and then some bishop c6, and I guess should be a draw somehow.
You know, Armageddon, with all its feeling of not being the most fair way to win a game, because often a player gets flagged, I have to say it's the most exciting format to watch. So I would be happy if we go into an Armageddon. And bishop e3 played as we predicted, because really no other way for black to continue, and bishop e4. So white has to take on e4 and rook e2 expected. So now what, white should just take on c6?
I think so.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like white has simply no justification in trying to play for any advantage, and then already it makes a lot of sense to force a draw.
Yeah, it all comes down to this queen d3, rook f2, yeah, because otherwise queen d3 would be winning, I guess. But
yes, this is a very nice idea, because your rook would not have a square defending the bishop. So, but black has this really nice resource of rook f2, which kind of keeps things under control.
Yeah, I mean, because of these tactics, I feel like, okay, what else can white hope for? And bishop takes c6 played.
So that's saying let's go into an Armageddon. So what, black should take on d4, queen d4 perhaps?
Yeah, it's played on the board. So, okay, there is a line like takes, bishop takes b5, and rook b2, bishop c4. That's
yes, that's a dream line also, yeah.
and bishop c4, just to end the game. And it's on the board. Yeah.
Okay, so fantastic. Bravo. Okay, so
Grischuk, Alexander predicted this about 20 minutes ago. Well done, Alexander.
okay, so and Ding is smiling, and now Yang will pick the color, and I guess he's going to pick white again, because that's what he always does in Armageddon against Ding. So we will see if third time is the charm, as they say, or not. So stay tuned. I think Armageddon will start in some 3 to 5 minutes.
Yeah, we're going to get a confirmation on how much time before the Armageddon, which should be very soon. It starts in 10 minutes, Peter.
Yeah, absolutely thrilling. You remember the first day between these two players featured an Armageddon, and today we also have an Armageddon between the two players. It's a epic battle between the two great Chinese players.
And I'm looking at the Twitch chat right now. All right, guys, like let's put this out to chat. What do you think? Is you going to flag Ding? Is Ding going to win this time? How is it going to be different? So I'm on Twitch chat right now. So let's do this, Peter. So everybody type 1 if you're rooting for you, and everyone who's rooting for Ding and thinks Ding is going to win, type 2. And we do have confirmation that you has chosen white. Start going crazy with Ding. All right, so lots of 2s, Peter, which means that everybody is rooting for Ding.
Okay, it's understandable, but I mean, we are talking about flagging. Flagging, as Alexander mentioned, it's not so easy to flag somebody. After all, in this first game, it looked like Ding could have crushed Yuyanji much faster. Finally, it all came down to this few seconds on the clock, but that should not happen all the time. So I think a lot of things will also be decided over the board, not just clockwise.
Yeah, but I have to say that would sound all very nice and very logical if it was a 3+2. But really, Armageddon, the clock is just as important as the board itself, Peter. We've seen that happen before, completely winning positions, but gone down the drain just because your opponent ruthlessly and brutally flags you. We've even seen Magnus do that. We saw Yu Yangi do it. It's going to be a thrilling Armageddon. Also, I feel like this is something we spoke about earlier, Peter, that in the Magnus Invitational, we saw very, very low quality Armageddons. But actually here, besides the last 10-20 seconds when things get absolutely insane and crazy, the quality of games and the quality of level of play during these tie breaks has been very high.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do remember, because I was following those Armageddon games also with big interest, but they always disappointed. And I remember Alexander commenting on them. And those were the moments when suddenly his nerves collapsed and he left. I think it was this game between Anish Giri in some anti-Berlin. There he just, against Ding. Yeah, exactly. Anish Giri against Ding, Armageddon game. And that's it. But those games are not repeated here. We see incredible battles in all kinds of Armageddons, just as we all wanted, just as Sasha wanted those days. That's why he was also so disappointed by that.
Right, and well, somebody's saying, commenting on the Twitch chat that a dream final would be a Magnus versus Ding match. I think honestly, with our semi-finals and the way it's set up, just anyone who's qualifying into the finals, it's going to be a dream final. We've got a dream semi-final as well, with Dubov playing one of the Chinese players, which he said is something that he does have a psychological block against and often struggles with. And then we've obviously got our super exciting semi-final setup between Magnus and Hikaru. Lots of on and off board drama whenever these two play. It's going to be very, very exciting. And just to remind our audience of how the Armageddon goes. So you did choose white, which means that Ding has got draw odds. White does have an extra minute on the clock. Black goes through in case the game ends in a draw, white in a must-win situation with an extra minute on the clock.
Yeah, so drama guaranteed.
Drama guaranteed, and take a look at that. So colors, how the colors are determined is Yu Yangi gets to decide what color he wants to play because he finished higher in the round robin stage of the event. So winner of the match, if white wins, goes through. If it's a draw, black goes through. And take a look at how our quarters went. Daniel Dubov crushing through the semis with a 3-0 win against Sergei Karjakin today. On the screen are standings of the event and just another few minutes before it all starts. And also don't forget the action, the drama just never stops, Peter, on Chess 24, because right after these guys finish playing and we have our semi-finalists, it's going to be none other than the other Peter Swidler, who will be taking on challenges on Chess 24. So if you want a chance and an opportunity to challenge Peter to a game, remember to go premium. Not only the advantage of chat, we had in fact the world champion Magnus Carlsen playing some banter blitz earlier today, and now it's Peter Swidler who's going to be taking on the premium members in some exciting blitz and bullet games. Also, not just the opportunity to play against some of the world's best players, just so much content and so many hours of study material, all for free if you go premium. Yes, and we should be starting very, very soon, Peter. I'm excited. And Peter, like after everything that's happened today, how do you feel? What are you feeling about the predictions of the Armageddon and about the openings?
Well, I mean, I'm pretty sure that Yu Yanji also has learned a lot from that very first Armageddon game, because his strategy of trying to go immediately after Ding, I mean, disbalancing him from the opening, and he played this very strange kind of Italian two knights opening. I don't believe that he will do that. I don't know, on the other hand, what he will choose, because right now his Nimzo E3 doesn't look suitable for repetition. Ding won the last game in this Nimzo. He has the psychological advantage there. He's most probably by now prepared. So usually in Armageddon, you want to take your opponent out of his comfort zone so that he starts thinking as quickly as possible. But how to achieve it, also as we discussed before, that the players know each other way too good. So we don't know exactly which openings did they study together in the Chinese national team training camps or whatsoever. So there might be some more intrigue that we don't know.
And I do see on our screen Alexander's back. Alexander, we were just discussing, Peter and I, about how during the Magnus Invitational you just had enough of the Armageddon games and didn't want to see any of that nonsense anymore. But the Armageddon this tournament has been quite exciting.
Yeah, sure. It was a great Armageddon. And I think there was some other very nice Armageddons, like Caruana Nakamura was very nice. I don't know. Somehow, Yangi, he likes to go for some forced lines in Armageddons. He was going for this Queen C2, Castle E4, Nimzo Indian, twice in Stavanger, just going for some equal endgame. And he won one Armageddon against Ding and lost against Aronian. So I don't know. I mean, for me, it looks kind of counterproductive. I think actually in Armageddon, you should go for something slower. But he does it the opposite way, but he has nice results. So, I mean, in general, I believe in results, you know. I mean, you can think someone is doing something completely wrong, but if he has good results, then okay, he maybe knows better than you do.
Yeah, and a lot of people on the Chess24 Twitch chat are hoping for a Magnus Ding final. Alexander, do you have anyone you're rooting for, or just like a professional commentator being completely unbiased?
No, not really. Not really. I don't know. I mean, of course, I think whoever, I mean, of course, Magnus is a huge favorite, but also, let's say, even if Nakamura wins in the semi-final, then he will be a favorite in the finals, no matter whom he will be playing. I don't know. I think Ding should be very strong, but somehow, I don't know. It seems like he lacks something, because to me it seems like he should be almost on Magnus level, but somehow he isn't for some reason. So I don't know. I don't know how to explain it.
No, that's very well put. That actually, but I have to say that I think in general, we've seen Magnus struggle with a few players from this world top 10 list, and definitely Ding is one of them. Hikaru as well. We've got a dream semi-final with Magnus playing against Hikaru. And yes, Magnus is a favorite, like you pointed out, Alexander, but also Hikaru's just been so in form in this entire format, not just in this event, but also in the Magnus Invitational, where we actually saw 2 matches Magnus and Hikaru played, and in both these matches, it was a very, very tense fight, and Magnus managed to win both, but not easily at all. So tomorrow's semi-final is going to be extremely exciting, and especially given all the drama that's been happening between these two players, the off-board drama as well. I think there's going to be extra motivation for them to perform well, which means a treat for all of us. And still waiting for the players to have a liftoff.
Yeah, I think it just starts any second now. So let's see what strategy does Yu Yangi choose whether he will go again. Okay, so they started, I believe, and they played some very soft, I think. I think it's very soft. Yeah.
Yeah, you went for d4, knight f6, knight c3, the Jobava style, yeah?
Yeah. Okay. I think it's more in terms of what I said. It's more like a slow line, unless black pushes. Okay, so what is this bishop g5? If black played h6, what was white's plan? I don't understand those, because if a bishop h4, I think you can play g5 and just you win a piece, no? And I don't think you really want to exchange on f6.
Instead, it decided to go bishop e7, no h6 on the board.
Yeah, in general, I feel like Ding wants to be very, very solid and wants to make sure that he can play instantly. So he's not caring about trying to punish somebody, just puts everything as fast as possible. Look at the clock situation. He has already gained 30 seconds on the clock so far.
Yes, he's learned from his previous experience that it's going to come down to the clock at some point.
Yeah, so okay, so let's see. I guess white will play something like take and rook fb1, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, white got this very nice knight to d3. This is the soul of white's position. At the same time, his bishop on f3 and the bishop on g5, I, of course, completely misplaced.
Okay, but now, yeah, okay, so this is an important, it's a first threat white made, this knight c5, the threat was, of course, to take on f6, yeah, and play knight d7, so, and actually it caused some kind of unhappy grimace by Ding, so, yeah, rook b8, but now on b8, after eventual bishop f4, knight will be pinned. So let's see how he deals with that. I think it's a very playable position for white. I mean, it might be fine for black, but...
So remember, guys, black just needs a draw to go through the semi-finals. White has time odds in an Armageddon, while black has result odds. Right now, the position looking quite even. Ding also has managed to cover up on the time front.
Yeah, but we also see that so far it was much easier for Ding to play, but now I think it might turn that exactly. But knight f5, very important, because it hits the knight on c5.
Yeah, it's important and loses immediately.
Yeah, because of knight e6. Wow.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Did Ding just blunder?
Okay, but maybe he can fight, just queen b6, okay. Yeah, maybe it's not over, not over. I mean, for such a blunder, he sort of lucky. I mean, he's just worse, but unless g4 wins. No, g4, maybe g4 wins an exchange, I don't know. And then bishop e3. But, no, g4, there is rook e7.
Rook e7, yeah. And
so
b4 play.
Okay. Maybe take on c3, there is rook c1. I don't, yeah.
But you can just take on b4 because the rook on e7 is defended.
Okay, yeah, because c4 is there is rook take a1, so b4 was not a great move. So
he has to take.
He was very lucky with his sort of blunder.
And now this position, how do you evaluate this position?
Okay, I mean, it should be okay for black, but it's just very concrete. There is queen a6, I think, very unpleasant move now.
Yeah, because it's all about these first moves in this position, and yeah, queen a6 on the board.
Yeah, so
I think missed by Ding, and look at the way he reacted with his body language to queen a6. It indicated that he missed this.
Yes, back rank weakness, has to keep the rook on the 8th rank, went rook e8.
Okay, but I think it's still not the end of the world. Like c6, I guess. I don't know. rook c4. I don't know if it was rook c4, bishop take d5, and then maybe some rook take f4. I don't know if it works or not. Also, I think black can give up some material for the c pawn. I mean, if there are some exchanges, there might be also some kind of fortresses. I mean, let's see. So, okay, bishop g5. I don't know. It looks wrong, this move, but who knows?
Yeah, so the idea is probably knight e4, queen c6, right?
Yes, but then just maybe rook f8.
Oh, not, sorry. Knight c4, queen c6 on the board.
Just, or rook bb8 even.
Yeah, maybe rook bb8, yeah.
No, rook bb8, I think. No, rook bb8, then bishop f4 with the tempo. And then rook bd8, maybe. I don't know. Okay, so it's very important for Ding not to go down completely on time. So bishop f4, yeah.
Rook b8 on the board, bishop f4, rook d8, defending the d5 pawn because black cannot afford to give this pawn for nothing.
I guess bishop c7 will be played.
Yeah, now Ding for the first time ahead on the clock.
And that's not small. That's starting with a minute less. That means a lot in this format. So he's not really scared of queen d5 because you probably just take on c7 and take on c5 after that.
Yeah, I think there is some queen d7, just g6, yeah, and if c6, knight f6, and the queen is trapped.
Oh, that's a pretty trap.
So, okay, so bishop g4, knight d4, So now if queen d5, he can take on c7.
Yeah, you also want to take and then just take on c5 as well. And we have that on the board. And just
then queen d6. There is queen d6 at the end.
Okay, rook c8 or e8. Okay, and now it all comes down. Okay, just play quickly, Ding. And now it's just flag time. Just play quickly. Yeah.
Exactly.
Pre-move rook c8. Now h6. Okay, or this. Yeah, this is good to bring this back. h6. Then knight h7. Okay, and just play quickly.
So this is just about flagging. But I think it's kind of easier to play with black because the knight can actually set up a lot of tricks in this position. So
yeah, but queen is also a tricky piece, I can tell you.
Knight h7, queen e3.
G6.
Black.
Now G6. G6, game over.
Yeah.
I mean, chess-wise. Now knight e6 and just pre-move rook d8. Okay, you cannot pre-move because white will take on e6 eventually. But like, normally it's over. I don't know why he go to unprotected square on c8.
Oh my god. Oh, he could have taken on g5.
He doesn't care. I mean,
he doesn't care.
The only way he loses is he pre-moves rook d8.
Yeah. And Yu Yang down to 8 seconds. Well, look at Ding Liren's clock. And that's it.
Okay, 3 times 3, 4. Okay. So
oh my god. What an Armageddon.
Congratulations for Ding. Yeah, what a fight.
What a fight. What a fight, and what a way to actually hold this position. And after that, let's just quickly see that knight f5 position, which happened around here, and it looked like things had gone wrong, but he did fight back after knight e6. So a lucky move, queen b6, still keeping things under control, and then playing super fast and eventually ending up with a position with a beautiful fortress, but also 20 seconds up on the clock. An absolute monstrous play in the Armageddon, and a very, very deserving entry into our semi-finals. So it's going to be Ding Liren versus Daniel Dubov.
Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, we have been talking about this, that flagging or not flagging, what will happen to Ding and so on. People were rooting for Ding. I feel like we should also mention now that after what has happened, you played a brilliant match, and now I also feel really sorry for him because he also would have deserved to get into the semis. He pulled up a really incredible fight, but Ding is probably the best choice for the tournament in the semifinals.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
so
also
now all three main favorites are in the semifinals: Magnus, Hikaru, and Dink. So
and Dubov, you can just never underestimate him. I think Dubov on his best form is absolutely a very scary situation for any player. Like we saw his match against Sergei Karjakin. I think, Peter, this is what it's all about. It is, of course, all the players are so strong. It's never going to be easy for any of them to qualify, but that's the point of this event, to have the strongest opposition and the most exciting matches for all of us to watch. What an incredible day that was, with Dubov crushing Sergei Karjakin in a 3-0 mini match and qualifying for the semi-finals. And Liren, after evening the score, I just keep saying that, but after an even score in the rapid games, going on to win an Armageddon, a format which has given him a few nightmares in this event, especially against his earlier Armageddon against Yu Yangyi. All right, guys. So what does that mean for us? I think it is. I should say thanks to Alexander and to Peter for taking us through and their expert analysis and commentary, and semifinals coming up tomorrow.
Yeah, thank you very much, Tanya, also, and thank you, Alexander. I also would like to add one more thing. You remember we interviewed Daniel Dubov, and he sounded so pessimistic about facing a Chinese player in the semifinals. I wonder maybe that it was the right psychological strategy to start preparing for the match, because after hearing him, there should be simply no pressure on him whatsoever. And if there is no pressure, maybe we'll see Daniel Dubov on fire in the semis.
So what you're saying is he's just said that, you know what, I don't expect anything out of this because I have such a terrible score against the Chinese players. I'm anyways doomed. So he's taken off the pressure on him at all for the semifinals, but that could work for him because we'll see an extremely monstrous Dubov. I think, Peter, either ways, both these semifinals are going to be extremely exciting. I am really looking forward to the Magnus Hikaru match. I think both these players are extremely motivated right now to play against each other and to win against each other for a lot of reasons besides the chess itself. And Dubov against Ding would also be a sort of a clash of styles of two extremely strong players. And we will have two finalists very soon. And a big thank you to everybody who joined us, Peter, to watch this broadcast. Thank you guys for staying with us. Consider going premium, supporting the show, and the chess never stops on Chess 24. Because right after this, we've got Peter Swidler taking on challenges from our premium members. So stay tuned and don't go anywhere. Chess 24 will be back with the semifinals broadcast tomorrow. Thank you.
yeah,
Thank
you, Peter. Thank you, Tanya, and see you.
Yeah, see you, everyone. Bye-bye. Yeah.
All right, guys. Thank you. Good night. It's super late here in India.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. See you.
Yeah. Bye-bye. Bye. All right. So good luck then. Yeah, guys. Yes. See you. Bye-bye.
I'm still trying to get my light to work.